All right.
Let me turn my camera on as well. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is October 19th, 2024. Time is currently 12:26 p.m. This will be a program brought to you by some of the leaders within the UNIA-ACL, First Assistant President, Vice President, Brother Shaka Barak, and the founder of the Garvey Institute. Is that correct, Brother Shaka?
Yes, and Brother Clyde, I just spoke to him. He is the president of our division, and he'll be coming on shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have leadership from Division 429 in Chicago. We also have leadership from here in Atlanta, Division 421, from myself, President, Brother John Hargrove, and I am also Commissioner for the District 5, consisting of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. I just wanted to welcome everyone to today's program. We're going to take a few hours to go over the history of the UNIA-ACL Auxiliaries. Primarily, we'll be looking at information in the UNIA Constitution as our primary source. As always, with all of our meetings, we open officially with some form of official UNIA rituals. If everyone would, we'll do the pledge to the red, black, and green flag. If everyone would, please come off mute, put your black fist in the air. Please stand at attention, and we'll do call and response. I commit my body, mind, and spirit.
I commit my body, mind, and spirit
to the protection, defense, and security.
To the protection, defense,
and security
of the red, black, and green.
Of the red, black, and green.
I dedicate my life.
I dedicate my life
to the redemption of Mother Africa.
To the redemption
of Mother Africa.
And the liberation of her scattered black children.
And the liberation of her scattered black children.
I accept for myself and my descendants.
I accept for myself and my descendants
the teachings of universal African nationalism.
The teachings of universal African nationalism.
And I promise that our children will be instilled.
And I promise that our children will be instilled
with the purpose and knowledge of themselves.
With the purpose and knowledge of themselves.
As African people.
As African people.
In order that the cause of our struggle.
In order that the cause of our struggle
will neither falter nor fail.
Will neither falter nor fail.
Until all black people are free and united.
Till all black people are free and united.
Through one God.
Through one God.
One aim.
One aim.
One destiny.
One destiny.
I feel like I stumbled on that, but it's okay. Brother Shaka, is there anything that you wanted to provide in regards to rituals before we go into?
No, I'm going to leave that up to you. I'm still struggling with this computer, so
okay.
I'm a little uncomfortable at the moment.
No problem. In addition to our pledge, I'll also screen stopped. Please keep in mind. I'm also going to do a brief ritual for sorry, the from Greenland's Icy Mountain. It's also one of the official UNIA opening rituals, and I'll share my screen as we do that. From Greenland's icy mountains, from India's coral strand, where Africa's sunny fountains roll down their golden sand, From many ancient rivers, from many palmy plains, they called us to deliver their land from error's chain. Shall we, whose souls are lighted with wisdom from on high, shall we to men benighted the lamp of life deny? Salvation, O salvation, the joyful sound proclaim to earth's remotest nation has learned Messiah's name. Waft, waft, ye winds, his story, in you, ye waters, roll, till like a sea of glory, it spreads from pole to pole. To o'er our ransomed nation, the Lamb for sinners slain, Redeemer, King, Creator, in bliss returns to reign. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So that takes care of our opening rituals. We're officially at quorum, and we will do a brief roll call. We'll go around, just say your name, and if there's any leadership positions that you hold and divisions or regions that you represent, please share that. And I will start, and I'm going to change my name once I finish. I'll change my name on the Zoom. My name is Brother John Hargrove, President for UNIA-ACL Division 421 in Atlanta. Commissioner, District 5. Brother Shaka, do you want to follow up?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Shaka Barak. I'm the first Vice President of Division, the Garvey and Nkrumah Memorial Progressive Division number 429 here in Chicago. I'm also a former third Assistant President General of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, both an elected position, and I was also at one point appointed to that position. I've served as the Minister of Education under 2 administrations, and I am the president and co-founder with my wife of the Marcus Garvey Institute. And we're almost, 40 years old. I love the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League and our founder, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shaka. Next, I'll call on first Vice President here in Atlanta, Brother Omasius.
Greetings, family.
Greetings.
Brother. Greetings. Race first. Race first.
Race first.
My name is Brother Omasius. And 2, I am the first Vice President of the Division 421. Judy's not here. Division out of Atlanta, Georgia, and also serve as the Business Development Coordinator. And, happy to serve the race.
Thank you, Brother Omasius. See, we got another brother from leadership just joined. I'll give him a second to get settled. Sister Diane, you want to come in for our first Lady Vice President?
Greetings and race first, everyone. I am Diane Marshall, First Lady Vice President, as well as Education Coordinator, Division 421 in Atlanta.
Yes, ma'am.
Look forward to this call and learning all the wonderful things about our amazing organization.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sister Diane, and both Brother Omasius from Business Department, Sister Diane, Education Department, doing a great job for Division 421. So thank you for joining, Brother Art. One second, Brother Art. Want to go to Division 429 President, Brother Clyde. Greetings, Brother Clyde. We're just doing a brief introduction roll call.
Greetings, everyone. Sorry for the tardiness getting on. We just wrapped up another call. My name is Clyde Banks, President of Garvey and Nkrumah Progressive Memorial Division 429 here in Chicago, and also a dual role as Minister of Industries and Labor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Clyde. With that, we'll go to our recording secretary here in Atlanta, Brother Art. Greetings, Brother Art.
Race first, family.
Race first.
My name is Art Costley. I'm with Division 421 Atlanta, recording secretary. And race first, and really looking forward to this event.
Race first.
Race
Thank you,
first.
Brother Art, and also doing a great job as recording secretary. Next, we'll go to a longtime Garveyite down in Jacksonville, Florida, Brother Confidence Chizoro. Brother Chizoro, you there?
Greeting.
Greetings. Can you speak?
Yes, start.
Yeah. I'm standing by. I'm gonna be headed to the bus soon, but I'm listening. But I'm listening. I'm still in contact with the Igbo military veterans down here. But I'll see how I can contribute to the call. Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Confidence. And last, we have Brother Gerald. Greetings, Brother Gerald. Where are you calling in from? Brother Gerald Reed.
Oh, I invited him. I invite a lot of people, but he's in Miami, and the city of Miami has a Black directory, like a yellow pages of government and self-determination organizations. So we're trying to see if we can leverage that. But I'm just getting to know him. But Miami was somewhere we were looking at. But yeah.
Thank you, Brother Chizoro. Thank you, Brother Gerald, for joining. We will continue with the program. So first thing, just I guess welcome. Welcome everybody to the program. Myself, Brother John, and Brother Shaka, as well as other leaders throughout the UNIA, have had continuing discussions about regular programs, education, training. These concepts tend to continue to come up as we discuss nation building and specifically rebuilding the UNIA-ACL. Last month, September, we focused on
excuse me. I didn't know we were through with roll call.
My apologies. My apologies, yeah. Sister Kamar.
No, my apologies. I'm Sister Kamar Mateen Barak, Division 429 in Chicago. I'm the financial secretary, and over the years, I have held the position of co-chair for International Convention, and I also served as first vice president in our division under the Honorable Charles L. James.
Thank you, Sister Kamar. My apologies for the oversight.
Oh no, sir. That was me. That wasn't you.
Right.
I could have spoken up earlier.
Thank you for being here. We always appreciate your presence and your energy. Okay, so as I was saying, just welcome again. Presentation primarily from the mind of Brother Shaka. I must give credit. I've added some images, a little bit of color, and potentially some context, but a lot of the information in history has come from Brother Shaka. I must give credit. Just wanted to open this up as we get started, somewhat of an icebreaker. What is what catches everyone's attention with this image? I thought of this a moment ago before we started the program, and I wanted to see if other people saw the same things. So if anybody wants to give any input on what this powerful image brings to mind, brings to heart.
To me, this is Brother Clyde from Chicago. It just conjures up this order and majesty and just magnificence in terms of how we able to gather, be organized, and show a solidarity. At that point, we had some great people in Calvary's just prior to, I guess this is probably 1920. where you had what we called the Buffalo Soldiers. And so people understood these were great soldiers that accomplished big things. In fact, my grandfather was one of them, so he's the one that taught me how to ride. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Clyde. Order, Majesty, Magnificence, Organization, Buffalo Soldiers. Yes, I agree with a lot of those sentiments. Anyone else have any observations they would like to share?
Yeah, this is Brother Macias, and I wanted to jump in right now because I really just wanted to veg back off of President Clyde, because the first word that came to my mind was organization. So that's just it. I couldn't even think of another word beyond that. It was organization.
Sir. Anyone else before we proceed? Brother Shock, I did get your message. Give me one moment.
Okay.
Pardon me, Brother Gerald.
For that time, I think it shows power. This is Brother Art.
Brother Art, power?
Yeah, I think it shows a lot of power.
Sure. Power. Brother Gerald, were you speaking?
Yes, during the introductions, I missed it because a phone call came in and I took it and it switched me over. So I missed the introduction. My name is Brother Gerald Reed from Miami, Florida. I do a Facebook page called Our Black Miami, and we quasi involved with some of the government stuff that goes on in Miami, but we try to keep our community unified. We are situated in a historical Black neighborhood of Liberty City. Some people nationally may know Liberty City. That's one of the names of a historical Black community that's in the area. So, I'm here to learn. I haven't been in the Black Power movement at all. So I'm here to learn, kind of be like a fly on the wall and just soak some stuff in, because we've actually had guys go to state senate in Florida and they weren't able to get anything done. So we see that the traditional structure isn't working for us. Even when you send a guy all the way up to the top and back down, it doesn't work for us. So, I'm just here to learn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Gerald. You're in the right place, my brother.
Still trying.
Okay, we'll proceed. And I agree with all of the sentiments. Organization, majesty, I think is powerful. In order, power, beauty of these animals. But I think that it's for me, this gentleman here, I don't know if he's a Caucasian. I don't know if y'all can see my cursor. The gentleman on the right side of the horse to the right, that's looking at the other brothers. That I think for me encapsulates what we are trying to do today and what our ancestors were able to do in this time. Sense of awe, of impossibility. Who do these individuals think they are? Who gave them the right or authority to put on this type of display is the essence that I'm getting from the individual on the right side. But this is the same energy that we are desiring, in a sense, to recreate. Because once we do reestablish ourselves, that energy, those opinions are going to resurface to where people are going to wonder, who do we think we are to call ourselves a government, to claim authority and responsibility of all Africans throughout the world, to give our people, as we learned in the past, a backbone instead of a wishbone. So I just wanted to touch on that really quick. I do agree with what everyone was saying, but yeah, again, for me, this gentleman on the right, I think he, for me, encapsulates a lot of the awe of the moment. Okay, we'll proceed. So in the discussion of the history of UNIA auxiliaries, the auxiliaries specifically are the Universal African Legion, Universal Black Cross Nurses, Universal African Motor Corps, our Juveniles Division, and the Choir. And this information can be found in our Constitution, which we will be reviewing for today's presentation. So the first auxiliary is our African Legion. And we'll go to the Constitution, but I summarized a lot of the Constitution here in this slide. The Universal African Legion consists of men ages 18 to 55 in good health as per our current Constitution. They are responsibilities to teach military skill, discipline, and trades. There are commissioned officers, and there are non-commissioned officers. Non-commissioned officers are spoken of first in the Constitution, and there's 3 classes. The first class described as a master workman, second class described as a skilled workman, and the third class described as an unskilled workman. And then the commissioned officers follow the uncommissioned officers in the Constitution. There's the Minister of Legion, which we will discuss, can be found in Section 28. Minister of Legion staff, which consists of the generals, lieutenant generals, major generals, and commanders. So I wanted to go to the Constitution, and we'll confirm this information.
John, if I might, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Just to make brothers and sisters aware that what you just described in terms of the crafts or jobs, every member of the African Legions, Universal African Legions, would have to have some type of trade. Hear me clearly. Would have to have some type of trade. We would train you in the trade of your choice or your inclination. You might be good at something specifically, and so you would get trained in that. But we would find some type of trade for you, because when we did that, you would never be unemployed. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be calling on support to help us read. I will take the first section, and then I'll call on officers to read some subsequent sections. Section 1, Rules and Regulations for the Universal African Legions of UNIA-ACL. Article 1, per the UNIA-ACL Constitution, Section 1 states, this auxiliary body shall be known as Universal African Legions, shall consist of men who are active members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, and between the ages of 18 and 55 years, and in good health. Brother Macy's, can you help me with Section 2?
Section 2. The auxiliary body shall have the special designation of the Universal African Legions, and shall prepare men for service by teaching them military skill and discipline, by registering them according to the various trades in which they have been trained. There should be among them non-commissioned officers and men of 3 classes. First class is master workmen, second class, skilled workmen, and third class, unskilled workmen. The master and skilled must have trade identification. Unskilled workmen must be grouped without trade identifications.
So before we go to commissioned officers, Brother Shaka or anyone, Brother Shaka, did you want to have any comment? Or first, Brother Shaka.
Well, I would probably defer to my president, Brother Clyde. I know he's working, so he can just jump in and out. But as the Minister of Labor and Industry, he could certainly appreciate how his office would be instrumental in helping to develop the tradesmen, to take a brother who doesn't know anything, who doesn't have a trade, doesn't have a skill, and they would be ordinary members of the Universal African Legions, but to very quickly help them get a trade, to use the words of my wife, so that I said they'd never be unemployed. And what'd you say, babe? They would always be able to have a livelihood. So that's absolutely what I had said, and this document that the brother read is bearing that out.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Shaka. Brother Clyde, President Clyde, anything you wish to say or in regards to the trades or anything we've read thus far? President Clyde, you there? Yes.
We'll save that question for him when he comes back.
Okay. Okay, so that is African Legion non-commissioned officers. Let me go back to the Constitution. Briefly, oh, I don't know if I'm sharing the right information. No, I'm not. So we just read Article 1. Article 2 talks about location. I'll read that briefly. The quarters of the Universal African Legion shall be Liberty Hall of the meeting place of the division of the UNIA-ACL in which they are formed and unto which they shall be attached. So the headquarters of the Legion is the Liberty Hall. The headquarters of the Universal African Legions shall be with the parent body of the UNIA-ACL and shall be under the direct supervision of the Minister of Legion. The headquarters shall be with the parent body. First, the quarters of the Universal African Legion, and then the headquarters shall be under the supervision of Minister of Legions. Any comments on location?
Brother John, that's why the divisions of the UNIA ought to have a place that they meet, that they own, that they lease, that they rent, because as you just read, the legions in your division will meet on a regular basis at your division, maybe on the weekends or maybe during the week, but they need to have a place. Now, I'm going to extrapolate that into every auxiliary. Even the babies, they got to have a place to play President General and Commander. And so let's always put the horse first before the cart. And that is, get that division in order. Make the sacrifices to have your meeting place, that you control the key so that you can develop your auxiliaries. You want to make an impression? Have your own place that you have a key. That's a good impression. But have some activities in there, and they'll really love that. So I did see Brother Clyde. If you wanted to, if he's still there, you want to let him address that question of, as the Minister of Industry and Labor, as it relates to the trades of every member of the Universal African Legions. And Sister Diane, just hold fast, because the sisters have some work to do too. And we'll get to that as we get to the Universal African Motor Corps.
Brother Clyde, you there?
Yeah, he's kind of popping in and out.
Okay, well, while he's, I'm going to send you this email again, Brother Shaka. I'll have a second.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I just sent that out. And we're still sharing the Constitution. Okay, we will proceed with the Constitution. We were getting into Article 3, titled Commissioned Officers. Brother Art, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I got it.
Can you help us with Section 1?
Okay. Article 3, commissioned officers. The Minister of Legion's staff shall consist of generals, lieutenant generals, major generals, and commanders, and such other departmental general officers that may be expedient for the successful conduct of the Universal African Legion.
Minister of
Section
Legion.
2.
Go ahead.
Pardon?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, Section 2. The generals, lieutenant generals, major generals, and commanders shall be appointed by the Minister of Legends with the approval of the President General and Administrator. All commissioners shall rank as brigadier generals and shall be posted to their duties where the Legion is concerned in their respective fields. The president of each local division and chapter, by virtue of his office, shall be ranking commander of his division. Section 2A. All orders affecting the Legion issued of divisions or chapters shall be issued through the president of the local division or chapter, who in turn shall issue the military commander of his division or chapter, all of which shall be approved by the President General and Administrator. Section 3. Commissioned officers of the various divisions or brigades, when fully organized, shall be as follows. Commander, president of the local division, colonel, honorary colonel.
You can listen to it if you want. I have.
Brother Shaka, you coming through? Yeah, he's got
honorary colonel, inactive except for consultation or advice. Lieutenant colonel, majors, captains, first lieutenants, second lieutenants, cadet or Boy Scouts commander. Okay, staff officers insignia.
Okay, so we're gonna stop there, brother. Thank you, brother Art. The main point for that was commissioned officers and the roles of the commissioned officers. As you said, Minister of Legion staff, generals, lieutenants, major generals, commanders, and then, yeah, the rank of officers. Sorry, too far. Went way too far. Goodness gracious. Rank of officers. So this would be in our local divisions. Commander would be the president of the local division. Colonels, honorary colonels. I think of honorary colonels as those that may have aged out. They're above the age of 55, but they're still involved, but they're not quote unquote active military. Lieutenant colonels, majors, captains, first lieutenants, and cadets or Boy Scouts. Brother Shaka, anything you wish to comment on this section?
Yes, that idea of honorary colonel, I think you hit it right on the head, because there will be some of us in the UNIA who are men who want to be a part, but when you set up the fitness requirements, we may or may not be able to meet those requirements. Visions, we may not be able to meet those. Forced marches, camping, there may be a lot of things we won't be able to do. And then some of us, you know, like my father, I mean, he would just basically be sitting and absorbing. So you're absolutely right. There will be some honorary positions, but an honorary colonel was once a colonel.
Mm.
You don't become a private and become an honorary colonel, or a first lieutenant or a captain. You would have had to have earned that rank to be able to maintain it for life.
Okay. So that's a great point. I like that. I think that's one of the failures that we have as a community and as a people when it comes to if you relate honorary colonel to that of a title of an elder, to where, you know, I know I've been a victim of it. In our youth, we look at anyone that's older than us, especially in their later years in life. We look at them as elder and we respect them as elder. But as I've come to learn, being involved in the movement, elder is a title of respect that's earned as well. It's not just because you know, lived a long time, but you didn't do anything. That doesn't necessarily make you an elder worthy of respect. Well, worthy of the same amount of respect. We should always respect those that have reached that position in life, but there's a difference between those that have put in the work and those that haven't.
Well, the difference is between respect and honor. This doesn't say respected colonel. Honorary. It says honorary colonel.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So we respect all, but only some are worthy of honor. Any other questions on rank of officers before we proceed to the next? Okay. African. Oh yeah, this is still African Legion. Master and staff. So, okay, this is in the Constitution. We won't necessarily have to read it verbatim. Quartermaster and staff. Section 1, there shall be established in each unit of each division or brigade a quartermaster and staff, who shall receive monies, collections, and deposits for uniform. They shall make weekly and monthly reports to the commander through the general secretary. All monies received by the quartermaster shall be lodged with the treasurer of the division for deposit in the bank so designated as part of the funds of the division for which the legion shall be credited. Section 2, the quartermaster shall receive all monies designated to the Universal African Legions and shall pay all debts with the approval of the commander and issue vouchers for the same. So this is interesting. This is almost the responsibilities for me, they mirror that of a financial secretary, but are keeping accounts and funds managed. Brother Shaka, anything on quartermaster and staff?
Yes, if you decide that you want to go on a bivouac or an outing, the soldiers, or rather the legions, have to be fed. Arrangements must be made for them to sleep, even if it's in a tent, in a sleeping bag. So there's a lot of logistics that go into that. My mentor, the Honorable Charles L. James from Antigua, also known as James of Gary, Indiana, the highest graduate of the course of African philosophy, he went into the military during World War II. And he easily was able to adjust to military life because of his experience in the UNIA. So though we're talking about an auxiliary of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, I want you to take a look at this list of things that we would be responsible for because it places us in a similar situation to the regular armies of the world.
Yes, sir.
Even though, you know, we're not an army, we are the universal African legions, but we learn so much as legions. Now, why is that? Because in 1918, when World War I came to an end, a lot of those soldiers came back and they were disenfranchised. Black soldiers were disenfranchised. They were kicked about, they were disrespected, spit on, and so forth and so on. So the Alma Marcus Garvey brought them in mass into the Universal Negro Improvement Association. What did they do? They taught us everything they had learned about how to build a city or how to tear one down. So there was nothing in terms of military life that we were not familiar with. So years later, when my mentor actually went into the military and during the Second World War, he was prepared by our legions, and that's what's going to happen to us when we get it activated. A lot of those who become members of the Universal African Legions will be able to interface with armies. We'll be able to send some to Kenya. We'll be able to send some to Rwanda. And we'll be able to interface with those that are working in Jamaica and Haiti, because we will understand military life, and it'll just be a training program. In other words, you go there and for a couple of weeks, you soldier with them, they soldier with you. You show them some tricks and they show you some tricks as how to do your job better. That's all I want to say on that.
Sir. Thank you, Brother Shaka. So that's Quartermaster and Staff. Let me see how much I went over on the slide. Quartermaster and Staff down to National Anthem and Colors. Okay. Sister Diane, will you be able to assist me with the reading?
The information you read from just now, earlier, is not displayed. I'm just seeing the list of
Oh, you're right. Here we go. Yeah, can you see commissariat and its duties?
Yes. Start with section 1.
Yeah, if you could do 1, 2, 3, please.
Okay. What is that? Article 6? From what I see. Commissariat.
Yes,
and its duties. Section 1, each brigade or division shall have a commissary of subsistence department, which shall be composed in ratio to the size of the division. The head shall be known as the commissary captain and shall function directly under the commander of the division. Section 2, the commissary officer of the division shall be a caterer and have knowledge of feeding and refreshing his brigade while on the march, camping or other outings. He shall, under instructions of the commander, see the refreshments are prepared and served to each unit while outing, camping, or hiking, and with the assistance of his department, ensure equal distribution. In case where special catering by him is unnecessary, he shall use his department to supervise those who volunteer or are paid to do so. Section 3, when the brigade is normally at rest at his quarters and the duties of the commissariat are not necessary, each member of the commissariat shall should muster back to his division. When needed, the commissary officer shall apply to the colonel or commanding officer of each unit for the
I'm
number.
sorry, Sister Diane, that word was colonel.
I'm sorry. Colonel?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Or commanding officer of each unit for the number wanted under orders from the commander.
And I'll finish section.
Colonel, is colonel spelling correctly?
Yes.
Is that you spell it?
Yeah. It looks weird, but that's how it's spelled. Colin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's colonel.
Okay.
I'll finish section 4. When more than one division or brigade is on the hike or move, the minister of legion shall appoint a commissary general who shall supervise all duties of the commissariat herein before mentioned, with the addition of sleeping and living quarters. Any inconvenience of sleeping, living, or feeding by any member or unit in a brigade shall be communicated through the commissary officer in command to the commissary general. Brother Shaka, you want to say anything to commissariat?
Just one thing. When the commissary, the word commissary it means that the supplies that are needed for the troops, especially when you're on a march, but also the supplies that are needed for the troops when they're in their division or at their base or in their own city. So that when the Negro Factories Corporation manufactures pants that could be the uniform pants for the men, or they manufacture skirts that will be the skirts for the Universal African Motor Corps, they will manufacture small, medium, large, extra large, 2X, 3X, and 4X, and 5X. Well, they will always be available so that if you ever need an extra pair of pants because you tore yours while you were out, or, and you damaged any equipment that you might have, at the commissary, you'll be able to pick those things up. You'll be able to pick up belts, you'll be able to pick up shirts, you'll be able to pick up whatever tools that you might need, as well as when it's necessary, the commissary will be able to provide the food for the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shaka. And this brings back a question that you had asked, I don't know if it was last month or even longer than that. What would we do if we had 10,000 members? And, we have to be able to, can we feed 10,000 members? Can we provide shelter for 10,000 members, clothing for 10,000 members? So we should be thinking on that level and on that scale if we are to rebuild our great global organization and really do what we say we wish to do in regards to our aims and objects of having a universal or global economy. Everything that we need as a people, we can produce for ourselves. So, can we maintain a brigade or platoon?
Well, Brother John, when you said 10,000, you gave me goosebumps. Like, wow, that was such a beautiful feeling that went through me to hear that number, 10,000. Let us also think not only of a division with 10,000 members, but you as the lady president, Sister Diane, half of those members are going to be women. And some of them are going to be Black Cross nurses. Some of them are going to be African Motor Corps. Some of them will be your first vice president, second vice president, third vice president. Some of them will be girls transitioning through your Black Cross nurse programs. And so likewise for the men, the same thing. Some will be in the Universal African Legion. Some will be in our scouts as our cadets. Some will have to be members of the Legion that can help the lady president with the training of the African Motor Corps. If you have colonels in the African legions, they can help with the training. And brothers and sisters, understand this: the faster you acquire your knowledge of military discipline, the higher you will grow inside of the UNIA. It's indispensable.
Yes,
You
sir.
see pictures of the Marcus Garvey. You see him in suits, yeah. But you also see him in the uniform as the commanding general. And his attitude is that every boy should aspire to be a part of the Universal African Legions. Every one of them. You ain't no, well, no, man, I want to be a doctor, and I don't want to be. No, you can still be a doctor. Sister says, well, I want to be a doctor. I don't want to be in the African Motor Corps. You can still be a doctor. Or maybe you want to just go into the field of the Black Cross nurses. But these auxiliaries are for us to fulfill them with that 10,000. So we just have to make sure that we can lead when the numbers start coming. Because when they start coming with this kind of education that John is helping to provide for our membership, when they start coming, they're going to come in droves, because there's nothing out there like us. And all they need is to see a little success, and they're going to jump on this bandwagon. That's the way it always happens. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Shocker. We still have quite a bit of information regarding the Legion specifically in the Constitution. So we will proceed, and then once we complete all of the Legion, we will open the floor for any questions or discussion specifically regarding the Legion. Brother Macias, are you still there? It's not available. Okay, I'll read Article 7. And Brother Shaka, we didn't talk about this section specifically, so I'll just read it briefly, and you can add any color that you wish. Section 1, each member of this auxiliary shall pay on the first day of January each year the sum of 25 cents into the fund of the Universal African Legion. The quartermaster of each division shall receive the tax, issue proper vouchers, and turn over the money to the Secretary General of the division, who shall forward it to the headquarters in conjunction with the general report of the parent body.
No, that wasn't Secretary General. It was Secretary of the division.
Turn over money to Secretary, okay, of the division. Okay, all right. So this is internal accounting, financial accounting for the division Legion. How I read this. Quartermaster of each division, yeah.
Now, just imagine then, if your members decided they wanted to activate the Universal African Legions, and this was in compliance and alignment with the parent body and the other officers. Well, you could start that tax and save it, but have your secretary and treasurer save that, and as it accumulates, at some point in time, those funds could be used by the brigade or by the division. So it's never So here's what we used to do under my mentor. When we had a meeting, we had several funds that you could donate to. You could donate to the charity fund, you could donate to the building fund, you could donate to the general fund, and the African Redemption Fund. So we can always set those up so that the members can contribute directly to that. I mean, of course, you pay your dues no matter what.
Yes.
But the other interests that you have, you can also earmark some money in that direction as well. In fact, you can raise some money. You want to put on a fundraiser to raise money for the Black Cross Nurses, African Motor Corps, the African Legions, for the youth, whatever. Those things can be done as well. And each time you meet, when you have a business meeting, you ask the members when they say they want to pay their dues or they want to make a contribution, what fund do you want to contribute to? They say, here's $100. Where do you want it to go? I want it to go to the charity fund. Okay, fine. And you note that in your records that this person donated to this, and this brother or sister paid their dues, or this brother or sister contributed to the African Redemption Fund. Always keep a record of whatever monies you receive from the people and where it's supposed to be earmarked for.
Yes, sir. That's powerful. You just gave me an idea of each division. We should be doing, as you said, fundraising. I guess this should be an ongoing process, but and we've talked about this locally, but having a contribution form, just like churches do, where you can say, hey, this is my tithe, or I want to give to the general fund, or I want to give to the missionary fund, or we should have a form, education, the Legion, business.
Now, check this out, John.
Yes, sir.
When you look at the image that you have up here of Article 7, yearly tax and other expenses, my dues card was about this size of the image that's on the screen, folded over. And inside the dues card, it had the places where you could put all that information. So all you had to do is a person hand you their dues card. It has that information in there. They make their donation to a particular program, and then the secretary signs off on it that they made this donation on this date to this particular fund. And it's uniform. So everybody has the same type of dues card that has all of these departments that are listed where they can, when they want to make a contribution, tell the secretary where they want to make the contribution. Now, and I had to say that, Brother John and members, because here's what happens. Under my mentor, we didn't turn no money down. We didn't turn nothing down but our collars on our shirts, okay? We didn't turn any money down, which means that if you wanted to make a $2 donation, a $1 donation, whatever it was, our secretary would sit there, take that money, and then receipt you for it in your dues book, as opposed to saying, if it ain't 100, if it ain't all the money at once. No. That's why before my mentor passed, we had $25,000 in our treasury. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We got work to do. We got to rebuild. I'll read these briefly. Section 2, every division or brigade shall bear the expense of the staff officer who shall be sent from the headquarters at the invitation of said division or brigade to visit the whole or any unit thereof. So if we're requesting a staff officer from the headquarters, then that expense will be covered by the local division. Any division or brigade may make a weekly collection from its members to finance the working thereof. such collection not to exceed 10 cents weekly for non-commissioned officers and men. Such collections have nothing whatever to do with the yearly tax for headquarters, neither shall it be regarded as dues of the local division. So this will be a separate contribution specifically for tax to our Legion.
That's correct. And at some point, that 10-cent weekly would be modified greatly. But this was done at a time when 10 cents was a lot.
Yes, sir. And even the 25.
Still, it won't be exorbitant because we are a mass movement.
Yes, sir. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. But even it's 25 cents a year, we got to update these values and, make these contributions. Okay, I think that takes care of that. Examination for office. Brother Shock, anything you want me to go through this first and then speak? Yeah, I'll go through it first, then you can speak to it. But we talked about requirements of officials. We talked about qualifications in the past. This confraternity. What are the qualifications? What are requirements to be not a part of it, but to be in positions of leadership and to work your way up? There should be some form of examinations. So Article 8 talks about examination for office. Section 1 states, any officer before receiving his commission shall be required to pass an examination by an examining board named by the Minister of Legions. The subject shall be chosen from the following: geography of Africa, topography, mathematics, language, writing, reading, signaling, including Morse code, semaphore, and telegraphy, and any other subjects that are necessary for the fulfillment of the duties assigned to the position for which he applies. Each officer shall be required to obtain 75% marks for graduation in his ability test. Each officer shall also bring with his application 75% marks for good conduct, i.e. 75 out of 100 ability, 75 out of 100 good conduct. Brother Shaka.
Yeah, I'll say something about that. Brothers and sisters, if you become a part of any auxiliary of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, your conduct is going to be very important. Not only your ability and skills, but showing up at meetings on time, showing up regularly, not skipping meetings because something came up. Those things are going to be important, and it's going to be important for your commander to keep a record of all of that. So those forms that you were talking about earlier, Commissioner Hargrove, they would be good for keeping those kind of records in terms of conduct, where you have your sheets that after each event that the members have participated in, any meetings that they have participated in, you make sure your staff records who was late or who was on time, the status of their dues, how willing they are to carry out commands, orders, instructions. All of that's going to be important. And brothers and sisters, you want to give your commander, your president of your division, your lady president, you want to give them the best that you have, because you'll never get promoted inside the Universal Negro Improvement Association being a slacker,
yes, sir,
or being a knocker. If you want to knock the program of the UNIA, if you want to knock the president, if you want to knock the lady president, if you want to knock the officers, you will never be promoted, because nobody wants to promote a knocker who always is criticizing. They ain't doing nothing but criticizing. The other thing that we don't want to do is promote a shirker. They avoid work and responsibility. They try to get around it. They try to have somebody else doing what they should be doing. So if you want to get your promotion, Because if you ever get on the staff of the Universal African Legion, didn't you hear him read that they're gonna pay to have you come to Chicago? They're gonna pay to have you come to Liberia, Nigeria. They're gonna put you on a plane. Why? Because you really embrace the concepts of being a universal African Legions, a universal Black Cross nurse, a universal African Motor Corps. You become the exceptional youth, the exceptional cadet, the exceptional pre-nursing class young sister. People want to see you because it's like you're rare. To be the best, most people don't want to be the best. They want to be mediocre, don't they, Art? They just want to get by. They want to get by, just get along, take the easy route. But if you know that your president would love to see you excel, love to see more officers. So when he gives an account of his stewardship, it'll be like, hey, Brother John, how many captains you got down there in Atlanta? 10. Well, you're doing all right then. How many lieutenants do you have? 20. Well, you're doing all right then. So it's that kind of joy that will come from the success of building these auxiliaries. Take it serious and trust in this information that Brother John is showing up on the screen, because you will be guided to a great extent in the rebirth of the UNIA and the rebuilding of the UNIA. You'll be guided by these same conditions and facts. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shaka. But yes, we have to have standards and we must enforce those standards. How will we improve as individuals, as a community, as a people, as a race, unless we are setting standards and holding ourselves true to those standards? And for the Universal African Legion, the examinations for office are as we see on the screen. Any questions on examination for our officers? Okay. Discipline would be the next section. Brother Shaka, this one's fairly long. Let me see how I got this laid out in the presentation. Yeah, we are way up here.
Let's take number 4.
Okay. Section 4 states the imposition and enforcement of disciplinary punishment under authority of this article for any act or omission shall be a bar to trial by court-martial for a crime or offense growing out of the same act or omission. But the fact that a disciplinary punishment has been enforced may be shown by the accused upon trial, and when so shown shall be considered in determining the measure of punishment to be adjudged in the event of finding guilty.
Now here's the word court-martial.
Yes, sir.
You usually don't hear that in civilian life. This is when the leadership brings you before them and determines, did you either do something wrong or did you not do what you were supposed to do? Either you did something wrong or you omitted. There was something you were supposed to do that you didn't do.
Yes.
And so, depending on how bad it was, what you did or did not do, I mean, if it endangered the lives of other UNIA members because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, you didn't stand your post. And so the enemy was able to sneak in at the women's quarters, or somebody was able to get to the food. somebody was able to get to our youth. So we take the lives of other members very serious. And so if you, again, are a member of the African Legions, don't get caught not performing your duty well, because we got an article that will jam you up.
Yes, sir. Okay. I'm gonna skip over definition. Well, yeah. I'll invite everyone to refer to the definition section at your leisure, cards and transfers. Talks about officers being transferred from one division or another. All Section 1, Article 8, all non-commissioned officers and men shall have a card of uniform size and design issued from the headquarters of the Minister of Legions. There shall be a small space on the card for the photo of said individual. This card shall be a passport and shall be issued by the commander of the division from whence the member hails. So, as officers of the Legion travel between divisions, per the Constitution, there should be a standard process to accept those members and to identify those members. I'll jump down as we're wrapping up African Legion. Article 12 speaks on the Universal African Legion Band. I'll just read Section 1. The director of the band at headquarters shall hold the honorary rank of first lieutenant in the Universal African Legions and shall be appointed to his post by the commander of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, or he shall be the senior bandmaster of the UNIA and ACL. In local divisions, the bandmaster shall be a first lieutenant of the legions. The Universal African Legions Band throughout all the world shall be one great musical organization. All bandmasters shall work in unison under the leadership or under the directorship of headquarters. Brother Shaka, you want to say anything to our Legion Band?
Yeah, that's a beautiful sight. I think there's a copy, no, there's a photo of the band marching, 70-piece marching band. It was the Black Star Lines band. And this is the Universal African Legions Band. It's not, I mean, it's serious because look what it says in terms of who would be the band master. Shall be a first lieutenant of the legions. Why? Because members of the Universal African Legions Band are soldiers. These ain't kids. These are soldiers. Well, these are legions because they're in the Legions Band. And so a lieutenant or a high-ranking person must be the one that is the band master. I'll just make that point there.
Looking to see if I had any. I don't think I got any pictures of the band. I was looking for that in the background. Okay. Continuing in the Constitution under legions, selection and appointment of officers. Section 1, all officers except staff officers shall be selected by the men of the legions, examined by the examined staff of the Minister of Legions, and if qualified, commissioned by said minister. Section 2, all staff officers shall be appointed by the Minister of Legions with the approval of the President General. So, appointment of officers. So officers shall be selected by men of their legions and examined by examinations staff of the Minister of Legions, and if qualified, commissioned by said minister. So again, qualifications, are we as a nation, as a body, as a government, are we pushing for qualifications for our legion? Are we pushing for qualifications for our young men, young professionals? Are we pushing for the development of trades, you know, and if not, we have to ask ourselves why and when we will begin to develop that mentality. Brother Shaka, anything you want to say?
When that's going to come from probably the conventions. Because notice what this is saying. It's talking about the Minister of African Legion's staff officers. Why does the Minister of African Legions need his officers, his staff officers? Because there are so many things that has to be done in the department of the Minister of African Legion. That's no small thing. When you think about all of these men in the legions with all of these skills that can build the city and tear one down, that Minister of African Legions needs a team. If you have 100 divisions, that Minister of African Legions needs to have his staff that can give him reports on everything that's happening in those divisions. If the divisions exist in other countries, that Minister of African Legions has to have a staff that's in contact with those brothers and sisters in different parts of the world. So it's kind of like the President General has a cabinet, you could say, where all of these other assistant president generals, secretary general, assistant secretary general, counsel general, assistant counsel general, attorney general, assistant attorney general. I mean, this is part of his team. If he's doing anything, he's got to have these people in place to get the work done. Well, on the divisional level, the presidents of a division has 3 vice presidents, 3 lady vice presidents, a secretary, a treasurer, executive secretary, the trustee. Why? Because it's so much work that has to be done, so many lives that have to be taken care of until he needs his team. Well, every leader in the UNIA must have a team because there's so much work that has to be done. No one person can be the Minister of African Legions, let's say, and then don't have a staff. You can be the commissioner. You got to have a team to be a good commissioner. How many states do you have, Brother John?
3.
3 states. That means you got to have people, once the divisions are set up, that can help you. You can't do that by yourself. You can't be a president of a division by yourself. You can't be a lady president by yourself. No leaders can be leaders by themselves. They have to have a team. It just makes all the sense in the world. So these staff officers, these team players, they're going to be needed as we build. And so never forget that. That's why it's going to be so important to develop your people.
Yep.
God, you young compared to me.
Yes, sir.
But you're young. You got a great possibility to be one of the greatest leaders that we've ever had. But you can't do it alone. You can't just jump from the president of a division, the commissioner of a district, and then become president general. You ain't produced anybody. You haven't developed anybody. You haven't trained anybody, because that's going to be your team. As you go up the ladder, as you go up our hierarchy, you carry the good people with you. So when you finally find a place that you want to be in the hierarchy, you got your team that can help you get there and help you stay there and get some work done while you're there. Thank you.
So thank you, Brother Shaka. A very critical point in regards to what we are trying to do in these positions of leadership. In my experience, I see it as 2 critical things. One, developing ourselves, you know, to sustain these positions, to grow our organizations, to grow our regions, and then to develop others. So we have to develop ourselves and develop others. You know, and that's what this is talking about. This entire process has been, you know, how to develop ourselves and develop others, but also how to grade grade that qualification to determine if individuals or ourselves, if we're ready or not. But development.
Now, one other thing, John, is that you have superiors. And if your superiors
yes, sir,
are doing their job, they should be monitoring you, watching you, listening to you, studying you, training you, to find out if you are growing. But in order to find out if you are growing, they have to know what to look for. Somebody that doesn't know more than you, I'm sorry, they really can't lead you. They can have a position, they can have a title. Folks want titles. You think you have something, you got a title and you out there by yourself, you have nothing but that title. But what you need is a team. And so John is on somebody's team, but they got to call him, they got to talk to him, they got to question him, they got to give him assignments, they got to give him some food, they got to give him some opportunities to grow. Just can't let him be out there by himself and he's a commissioner and he's got a supervisor, he's got superior officers. And it's the same thing with your officers in your local divisions, man.
Very true.
Get your team together. Make sure everybody's trying to excel, everybody's trying to grow. And as you all go up the hierarchy, then you will get the recognition that you deserve, and leadership is simply waiting on you. But it starts now to become committed to being the best that you possibly can, so that your leader can say good things about you, give you good reports, good grades about everything that you do. And our leader, Clyde, he has to do the same thing. He has to keep an eye on his membership to figure out what they're doing. Because if you ain't leading, if presidents are not leading, if president generals are not leading, then what are they doing? Holding an office? We'll never grow like that. So I ain't being critical of anybody. I'm just simply saying, if you're going to lead, this is the roadmap of how that's done. And one of the first things is, if you're a member of the UNIA, if you're enlisted in the auxiliaries, first thing is everybody can order you around because you are Mickey New Guy. You haven't earned any rank. You're a private maybe. And so, but good conduct will get you a long ways with an officer or with a leader who really understands the importance of compliance, and those who will be loyal supporters of their administration, even though it's not just the president position of a division, or just a commission, or just a small ministry, but still that leader of that presidency, that commission, that small ministry needs members of his team that will go to work. If he goes to work, if he can point in the direction that he wants to go, he needs those that will follow and go along and get the job, help him get the job done. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes. And my last comment on this, two things all leaders, especially young leaders, should be asking themselves. One, who are we developing? Who are we giving our skills to? What generation are we raising up to be better? And who is developing us? Are we still learning, growing? As Mr. Garvey says, you're never too old to never stop reading, never stop learning. So we must continue to be developed, but as leaders, we must also be developing others and local officers. Again, this goes back to what I've said for a very long time, programs. What are the programs that we're developing? Brother Macias, Business Development Program, excellent job. First Lady Vice President, our education programs, that's excellent development for our people. Lady President working on our Black Cross Nurses development program. So these programs are essential for us to feed into one another. But we should always be asking who we are developing, what we are developing, and who or what is developing us.
As a matter of fact, John, whenever a new person comes before you, either one of your officers has brought a new person before you, or they just heard you talk one day and decided they wanted to come and meet you. In the matter of a few seconds, you have to say to yourself, I could train them.
Mm-hmm.
I could train them to be a part of my team. I could train them to help my secretary. I could train them to help my lady president. I can train them to help my first vice president. In other words, your officers, they don't have to do all the training. You're the president of the division. You can train better than any of them.
Yes, sir.
Because you have the whole picture.
Yes, sir.
Of what it is these parts fit into. And so when any new person comes, that's the first thing that's come to mind is, where could I put them at?
Mm.
And then stay on top of them until you fine tune them. Make this information available to them. Get them educated. Make sure that they stay in the classes and the training. And members who have responsibilities, make sure you're holding up to the responsibility that you have been given or that you have accepted.
Yes, sir.
Because he's got to start keeping records of what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
He can't be so comfortable and laid back and just let you do whatever you want to do. You can't do that in the UNIA. You have to be held accountable. So let's look at this conduct piece.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Thank you. I was anxious to get to the conduct portion. Article 15, I'll read this and I'll call on others a little bit later to help with the reading. Section 1, there shall be 2 classes for conduct in the Universal African Legion, i.e. good and bad. The good shall be designated by G, which shall mean good, and VG, which shall mean very good. These designations shall be placed on their cards under the photographs and shall be entered on the various lists which are compiled of the men and women. The others shall be designated by an F, which shall mean fair, and B, which shall mean bad. The subsequent sections just further elaborate on those 4 qualifications: very good, good, fair, and bad. Brother Shaka.
Brothers and sisters, you want to be good. That's the only grade you want.
Sir.
My students in the Chicago public schools and my family that follow my instructions are A students, straight A students. They don't even feel comfortable with a B. We got to figure out, did the teacher make a mistake if they end up with a B? Well, it's the same thing in our divisions. We got to be very good at whatever we do. Now, your president will have to lay out some standards by which you can be measured by, and his superiors are to be laying out a standard by which he can be measured by. And I will lay out some standards by which his superiors can be measured by, because I ain't playing with nobody. And so, brothers and sisters, always try to have very good. And as soon as you can get that together, Brother John, in terms of conduct, of what you're expecting from your officers, in terms of course, the most important things is punctuality,
Yes,
that they show up on time, and regularity, that they show up on a regular basis, and then obedience. That's a form of obedience right there that we call a meeting at a certain time and you show up on time. That's obedience.
Yes, sir.
You know, you're following instructions. You're following, or take it as an order. The president ordered me to be here at, I mean, he didn't say that's an order, but that's the way you'll take it because you know he's dependent on you to be on time.
Mm-hmm.
The average African or person of African descent, I mean, they have a problem with being on time, with being regular, because they're full of excuses. Oh, well, let me tell you, this happened and that happened. Kamar, you remember what our mentor used to say about people who were good at excuses?
Anything else.
Say it again. You got your mic on?
And anything else.
She said, if you didn't hear her, people who are good at excuses are seldom good at anything else.
Ooh. Yes, sir.
So you make a lot of excuses, you're not good at anything if you're good at making excuses. So irregularity, punctuality, obedience to all the instructions that have been given. And we don't give instructions lightly, John. We give instructions because we want it done. We think it's important to get it done. Now, if you don't trust somebody, you don't give them instructions. Man, you'll instruct them to go and open the back door, and they'll walk to the front door, walk out, and keep going. Oh, man, I forgot. But, man, we had to secure the back. You mean, you didn't even go toward the back? I forgot. You know, I was thinking about excuses. So, A or very good grades are what you want. And eventually, before this year is out, prayerfully, your president and my president will begin to look at not only their own conduct that their supervisors might look at, but they'll be looking at your conduct to make sure that you're performing your duties at the highest level. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Shaka. Yeah. Any questions on conduct? Okay. We're clear on expectations for conduct. Let's see, what is this? Military classes and retirement. Yeah, we'll go through military classes. I think I didn't make a slide for this. Might have overlooked it, but it seems important. The age distinctions of the different classes of the military. Non-commissioned officers and men for military service shall be divided in 3 military classes. 18 to 36 is class 1, 37 to 49 is class 2, and 50 upwards is class 3. Just seems to be a separation based on age, but I don't see any different response.
So go ahead and cover that, because especially when you get down to 2 and 3.
Okay. Section 2, any member after serving 5 years at the expiration of that time he passed his 55th birthday may retire from active service with honor. Any member past 55 years of age and still feeling fit may be allowed to continue in his military service class. If, however, he be pronounced by his medical examiner physically unfit, he may be honorably retired by the commander of his division or brigade.
Now, what you can do is have your Black Cross nurse representative get the equipment and have it handy in your division to check the vitals. Now, I don't know if they would do any blood work, but you can certainly check the pulse, heart rate, blood pressure.
Yep.
If they are diabetic, their sugar can be checked. Things of that nature. And there's clinics in the neighborhood, usually that they can, especially at that university, where you can send a person and they'll check them out for free. You know, I mean, all kind of, you can get checked for HIV, you can get checked for COVID. I mean, you can get all kind of checks for free. So the
Not anymore.
what you huh?
They don't do that yet free anymore.
They won't give you a free COVID check.
No,
You got to pay for it.
yeah. Or your insurance.
So what about all these little cards that we have? COVID check cards, little kits. They don't work?
Oh, yeah, you can use those kits.
Well, now there's kits that are out there too, John. So you don't, if they're charging at the hospitals to give you a COVID check, then we just use those little kits and we can round them up by the thousands. But again, we're trying to determine if somebody's fit for a military service, because you will be required to do a few push-ups, some pull-ups, some bend and thrust, 3-mile runs, wrestle, box, use the pugil sticks, like you would use a rifle for stabbing, and you can compete that way. And you don't want somebody having a heart attack. So yes, let's check our members out, and whether they're applying for the Universal African Legions or the Universal African Motor Corps or not, check your members out. Say, brother, let me sit down. Let's check. I'm gonna check your pulse. I'm gonna check your blood pressure. Those little kits aren't very expensive.
Yeah.
What do you say, Sister Diane? Can we get access to the little kits to check people coming out into the UNIA? That might be one of the winning points of why they want to be a member.
Yep.
Because you check their blood pressure and they didn't know that they were 275 over 200. My wife said they're dead.
Yeah, I think that's another. What I'm hearing is we need to be more active in the community, but I can see us, a health drive where we have these resources where people can come and get, a general health checkup. But also, when we were talking about donations, that could be also an opportunity for them to make a contribution, join the UNIA. The more we discuss, the more I feel like, we need to be active in the community, but that's the importance of the knowledge of when we do go out in the community, what exactly should we be doing? And that's where the Constitution comes in. Next section is Article 18. Seems to be very popular. When men may be paid. So according to the Constitution, Article 18, Section 1, the UNIA and ACL may pay salaries to men of the Universal African Legion only when employed by them at the various trades or professions in which they are skilled and registered. The association shall do its utmost to see that every man of the Universal African Legion be put to useful work at his trade or profession for the rehabilitation of the ancient glories of our motherland, Africa. This looks like, in regards to what you've taught, Legion should be able to tear down a city or build one up. So this seems to be speaking on the trades of our African Legion members. Brother Shaka, anything you want to say?
Brother Clyde is a contractor, and as such, he hires people. He has a team that he works with. If you have contractors and they come inside of the UNIA, they could be very helpful if they become a part of the Universal African Legions. If you have a mechanic that works on cars, they could be very helpful if they come inside the UNIA to help train members of the Universal African Motor Corps and help train men too. I mean, the women specifically in the Universal African Motor Corps would fix cars and trucks and other vehicles for transportation of the African legions in different parts of the world. But that didn't prevent members of the African legions from being mechanics, auto mechanics as well. And so the business of car repair ought to be the absolute under the absolute control of the Universal African Legions and the Universal African Motor Corps, so that at some point somebody's car breaks down, that becomes our opportunity to do two things: recruit and to make some money fixing their car. I mean, the professionals will have to, get the license bonded and all of that goes along with that kind of business. But yeah, let's look into it, because I mean, you just drive through our neighborhoods. I mean, cars are broke down. They just need somebody that knows how to fix them. And sometimes it's like just like you want to check somebody's health to make sure that they get a regular checkup, a real frequent checkup. Well, it's the same thing with their car. They ought to be able to bring their car in so you can check it out. All right, that's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, skilled worksmen and workswomen. The essence of what we are discussing when we talk about the auxiliaries. Article 19 speaks on uniforms. Let me see. I think obedience. Ooh, we got a lot in the Legion. We may have to wrap up the Legion because we still haven't even touched on Black Cross nurses yet. And it's halfway through our time. Uniforms. Universal African Legion shall be of one design through the world, except where conflict with the local authorities. It shall be approved at headquarters by a minister of Legion. In various climates, the materials may be suited to the temperature or climate conditions, but the designs shall be universal. Chevrons and other devices of non-commissioned officers and men shall be issued from headquarters only, and no other shall be used. Section 2, staff officers' uniforms shall be ordered from headquarters only, and all designs and improvements therefore submitted to the Minister of Legions. Every year, ratification of the designs of all uniforms or any change therein shall be made by the Minister of Legions immediately after. They shall not be permitted to appear in uniform yearly convention. I feel like that's typed terribly. Every year, ratification of the designs of all uniforms or any change therein may be made by the Minister of Legions immediately after. Something shall not be permitted to appear in uniform yearly convention. I might have to refer to my older Constitution to get context on that. Brother Shock, anything you wish to say in regards to the uniforms? Or should I just proceed and okay. National anthem and colors. We should know national anthem and colors of the country in which any division or unit individual of the Universal African Legion is domiciled shall receive due respect and acknowledgement. Oh, powerful. So this is the national anthem and colors of the country in which any division, unit, or individual of the Legion is domiciled shall receive due respect and acknowledgement by each individual of the Universal African Legion whenever played or presented on official occasions. So if The flag shall be respected at all times. Disobedience, this rule is a misdemeanor and is punishable by reprimand, withholding of privileges, restrictions, or any other punishment as the gravity of the offense may warrant. But this is a official official policy in the Constitution that says that for official occasions, particularly for us, we must respect the flag and anthem. I would say of the United States, or if there's an anthem of your state in particular, that would apply. But generally, we can say the United States flag and the United States anthem, national anthem. Brother Shaka, you want to comment anything on that? Brother Shaka, you there? Brother Shaka, you're on mute if you are speaking. Okay. So that is other nations' anthems and other nations' flags. Section 2 speaks to the UNIA anthem and flag. Whenever the national anthem of the UNIA and ACL is played, all officers and men of the Universal African Legion in uniform and under the command of a senior officer or a senior officer alone shall salute while all the men stand at attention. Whenever not under the command of a senior officer, all men shall salute the right hand man giving the time. Whenever not in uniform, they shall stand at attention and not salute. So, policies for when we should salute. If there's a senior officer.
John,
yes, Brother Shaka.
I had to step away. Some youngsters in the neighborhood were selling candy. And so it wasn't very expensive. It was just $1 a bar. So I asked them how many did they have. They had 30 pieces. So I bought 20 and I gave them a tip. So winning friends and influencing people. You called my name a couple of times. I was at the door. I didn't get a chance to hear what your question was or the topic that we were on.
We were just finishing up. We had just talked about the Article 19 that spoke on uniforms and how the design of the uniform was approved by the Minister of Legion at headquarters. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything in regards to our uniforms.
Just briefly, the uniforms will have to be worn in such a way that it brings dignity to the Universal African Legions or the Universal African Motor Corps, meaning that if it's a work uniform, you will basically make sure it's clean, it's worn well, it's pressed, ironed, shirt and top. And if you have a work hat, those can be washed and along with the shirt and pants starched. So when you iron them, they bring out a beautiful crease when they have been starched. And we want to have some uniformity throughout the UNIA. But the key piece will always be this red, black, and green button. But yeah, make sure that the members do wear some semblance of uniformity if they're acting as an auxiliary.
Yep.
Even if we don't have a minister of the African Legions, we can still conduct ourselves in a uniform fashion. You know, the president says one day, hey, look, I need everybody in a black shirt. I need all the men in the black shirt. I need all the men and the women in the black shirt. This is Black Shirt Day. Everybody wears black shirt, black pants, and a black hat because he wants to see some uniformity. The sooner you get started and sooner you get started practicing this, later on when, you know, it really counts. Later on when there's a parade and you need to put something together, I mean, put a black uniform in your wardrobe. You know, just make sure that you got that ready just in case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you need it. That's what I would say about the uniform. We could talk later about, you know, when to salute and how to salute. We'll have to work that out, so we'll have some uniformity to that, because a member of the African Legions, an officer, no matter where they would be from, they would be expecting, an officer would be expecting the same type of salute where whoever the member was. The national anthem and the colors of the country in which any division, unit, or individual of the Universal African Legion is now shall receive due respect and acknowledgement. Yeah, we're not going to burn the American flag.
Yep.
Because we don't want to have to kill somebody about burning ours. So we don't burn theirs, they don't burn ours. We don't burn the Israeli flag. We don't want to get into that, because we respect all nations. Yeah, they've done a lot to get where they are, where whoever they are. So we don't want to get into it. So we're going to respect their flags, and prayerfully they will respect ours. And if they don't, we're going to keep flying it anyway. And when you fly your flag, the red, black, and green, please don't let it drag on the ground. You know, there's a many of persons who've had the back of their head feel a little sting because they were dragging the flag as they carried it on the ground. Don't let somebody have to tap you in the back and tell you to pick the flag up off the ground. So we carry it with, you know what I mean? My wife in there laughing. Don't do that to our flag. Yeah, let me stop there then, in reference to the flag.
Thank you, Brother Shaka. And we're wrapping up African Legion. Jump down to Article 22, Obedience and Courtesy. Section 1, obedience shall be the first duty of a member of the Universal African Legion. No body of men without discipline and strict obedience of lawful orders can accomplish much. A lawful order is a command given by a superior officer relative to the service and not to self. A superior officer shall not only be considered by relationship to the members, regular squadron, platoon, or regiment, but of any squadron, platoon, regiment, or staff, or otherwise of the Universal African Legion when in uniform. Be courteous, let love and appreciation for one another be the rule. Brother Shaka, you want to say anything to obedience and courtesy? Article 3 finishes up, says any member subjected to the discipline and control of the Universal African Legion found guilty of disobedience of orders shall for the first offense suffer a penalty of 25 cents in the case of private, 50 cents in the case of a non-commissioned officer, and $1 in the case of a commissioned officer. These fines may be more or less based upon the gravity of the case and the discretion of the presiding officers of the court-martial. All such fines shall be the property of the parent body of the UNIA. Brother Shaka, did you want to say anything? Courtesy and, it's not discipline, is it? Courtesy and obedience.
Just real short and brief.
Yes.
Remember, these rules and laws apply to every auxiliary, every man, woman, and child in the Universal Negro Improvement Association, in Division 421, and 429. So even though we're talking about the Universal African Legions, it applies. You must be obedient to the orders given to you, the instructions given to you, the guidance given to you, the commands that are given to you by your president at all times. So, talking about the Universal African Legions, but I want to make it clear. It's in every area of your membership in the UNIA. Follow the leader.
Obedience and courtesy. Briefly speak to the disciplinary powers of the President General. President General of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League shall have the power, after due inquiry by the general membership, to instruct the commander of a local division through the Minister of Legions, or in his own discretion, to suspend, disband, or in any other manner discipline any auxiliary or unit created by the Universal Negro Improvement Association. If such auxiliary disobeys the Constitution or fails to live up to the rules and regulations issued from the headquarters of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and Communities League for their guidance. So the President General would disband a legion that is not in compliance with the Constitution or the orders that have been given. Brother Shaka, did you want to say anything to that, or should I just proceed?
Proceed.
Just a couple, I think these are the last two sections, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, rules and regulations. Black Cross nurses is coming up, and I don't know if we're going to do the whole oath. Article 24 speaks on the emblem. The universal coat of arms of the Universal African Legion shall be a shield or crest bearing the colors of the UNIA and ACL, namely red, black, and green. These shall be arranged perpendicularly on the shield. The shield shall be a globe showing the confraternity, I guess, and surrounded by a brilliant sunburst. Above the continent of Africa and below the shield shall be a scroll with the words pro Deo, pro Africa, pro Justitia. These words shall be the slogan of the UNIA, of the Universal African Legion. Brother Shaka, I have not seen an image of that. I'm gonna see if I can find one on Google. Official coat of arms.
What we can do is look for it, but at the same time, we can create and design a shield. We have men and women in our race that can do anything. Tell them what you want and let them lay it out. We won't, I mean, that isn't the most important thing, trust me. If you don't have any uniformity, if you don't have any legions. So the red, black, and green button will stand in the place of any shield until you get it.
Yes, sir.
Just make sure that's a part of their uniform.
Yes, sir. Okay. And last part of the Legion per Constitution, and we'll look at the amended, it's the oath. So oath states, so all members of the Legion would recite this oath. States, I, President John Hargrove, in the presence of the Supreme God of the universe and all persons.
Excuse me. Let's do this. I want you to read that and have us
fill in the blank.
Repeat it, but do it as a member of your division.
Okay.
You want everybody to stand or what? How do you want to do it, Kamar?
We'll have to stand.
Yes, but we're going to modify the Legion's oath so we can say the oath, because whether we're talking about Universal African Legions or members of the UNIA, they still have to have the same type of loyalty. Every auxiliary has the same type of loyalty that they have to the president of the division. And you got people in the division that are more loyal to a member of the African Legions than they are to the president. That's upside down. The commander is over the legions. He's over the Black Cross nurses, the commanders over everything in that division, and he has that responsibility, and he will be accountable for everything that happens in that division. So I'm just saying, as a little exercise, let's change this wording and read it as if it was a member, just a member of the division. Thank you, Kumar.
Sure. I'll take a shot at it. Trying to see if there's anything where I would need to change the verbiage. So if you would come off mute and repeat after me, but replace your name. So I, Brother John Hargrove.
Wait a minute. How do you want us to do that? Do you want us standing, sitting, our fists raised? It's up to you, Mr. President.
You can remain seated, put your fist in the air.
Okay.
So I'll start over. I, Brother John Hargrove.
I, Brother Shaka Barak.
In the presence of the Supreme God of the universe.
In the presence of the Supreme God of the universe.
And all persons here assembled.
And all persons here assembled.
Do solemnly vow.
Do solemnly vow.
That I do here and now dedicate my whole life.
That I do here and now dedicate my whole life.
To the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League.
To the Universal Negro Improvement 421 African Communities League.
And the cause of redemption of my motherland, Africa.
And the cause of the redemption of my motherland, Africa.
That I shall never disgrace myself or my uniform.
That I should never
disgrace myself
or my uniform.
Or my uniform.
By insubordination or contemptuous behavior of any kind.
By insubordination
or contemptuous behavior of any kind.
That I shall discreetly and to the best of my ability.
That I shall discreetly and to the best of my ability.
Spiritually, mentally, and physically.
Mentally, and physically.
Defend the cause of the UNIA-ACL and Division 421.
Defend the cause of the Division 429.
From all enemies within and without.
From all
enemies within and without.
And also, also do my utmost to build up and protect.
And also
do my best to build up and protect
the morale of its members to the end that the morale of its members to the end. That God's divine purpose be speedily accomplished.
That God's divine purpose be speedily accomplished.
In the ultimate freedom of all mankind.
In the ultimate freedom of all mankind.
From slavery and despoliation.
From slavery and despoliation.
And particularly the cause of the redemption of Africa.
And particularly the cause of the redemption of Africa.
Race first.
Race first.
Oh. Great job, everyone. So that is the official oath of the Legion, the Universal African Legion, as amended in 2005. And that completes the Constitution review of Universal African Legion. Questions, comments on Legion before we proceed to Black Cross nurses? Okay. All right. See how we're looking for time. I feel like it's about 2:30. Yep, that's right. We got an hour and a half. Rules and regulation governing Black Cross nurses. Let me see what I got on the PowerPoint. Visuals from current slide. I'm not sharing. Sure, yeah. Universal African Black Cross Nurses. We'll look at the Constitution speaks on the objects of the Black Cross Nurses. Speaks on their objects as threefold. One speaks of a system of relief, and it'll talk about it. It has a little bit more elaboration than just that statement. Attending to the sick and obligation to issue pamphlets. Universal African Black Cross Nurses consist of women of Negro blood from the ages of 16 to 45. Men are allowed to be honorary members, and one of the lead officers of the Black Cross Nurses representatives will be our Surgeon General, which is discussed in Section 26. And there's also the Constitution also speaks of a position of a universal directress. With that, I'll jump to Constitution. Brother Shaka, did you want to say anything?
Please continue.
Okay. Share Constitution. Brother Macias, are you available to help me with the reading?
I got you, President John.
Thank you, my brother. Can you grab Articles 1 and 2, please?
Yes. All right. Articles 1 and 2. The Auxiliary of the Universal Negro Improvement Association shall be named Universal African Black Cross Nurse. Step aside. All right. The objects of the auxiliary shall be on a system of relief and to supply the same in mitigating the suffering caused by pestilence, famine, fire, floods, and other great calamities, and to devise and carry on measures for preventing same. Section 2, to attend to the sick of the divisions to which the public auxiliary is attached and be ready for service at any time when called upon by His Highness the Potentate. Section 3, to issue pamphlets which will tend to educate the public to the use of safety devices and prevention of accident, to instruct in sanitization and sanitation for prevention of epidemics, and to instruct in first aid.
Thank you, First Vice President, Brother Omasis. Brother Shaka, I'm sure you have anything you wish to add to that?
Just that last section. To
issue pamphlets which will tend to educate the public to the use of safety devices and prevention of accident, to instruct in sanitation for prevention of epidemics, and to instruct in first aid.
Now, when you go to, if you want those type of pamphlets that are in line with your Black Cross nurses thinking on health and prevention and so forth, and you go to the hospitals and other institutions that give them out for free, have your nurses pick up some and have them handy. Always have a kit filled with free handouts on different things that they can, if it's aligned with your members. In other words, there might be a pamphlet on smoking cigarettes. Get those. And if you have members or people who come to the meetings that may have a problem with smoking, say, hey, why don't you take this with you? It's free. And read about why you need to stop smoking, why you need to stop drugging and drinking and so forth. And then at some point in the future, we'll create our own. But until then, we can have some handouts for our people.
Sir. Thank you, Brother Shaka. So those are the three primary objects of the Universal African Black Cross Nurses as detailed in the Constitution. In regards to membership to the Black Cross Nurses, we got 5 sections. Section 1, all women of Negro blood of African descent between the ages of 16 and 45 may become members of the auxiliary. Section 2, only active members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association shall be admitted to members in this auxiliary. So active women from the ages of 16 to 45. Section 3, all women of the race not desiring active membership may become honorary members upon payment of $1 or more annually. So there's an honorary membership in addition to active membership. Section 4, this is where the brothers come in. All men of the race shall be permitted to become honorary members of this auxiliary upon payment of $1 or more annually. So brothers, we must pay to be honorary members. And Section 5, all honorary members shall be known as annual or sustaining members. So primarily, Universal African Black Cross Nurses for active sisters between the ages of 16 and 45. And men or women may become honorary members through an annual payment. Questions, comments on membership to the Universal African Black Cross Nurses? Okay. Hope that is clear. Management Central, let me see what I got here in the PowerPoint for this. Yeah, we do talk about this a little bit. Management and direction of this auxiliary shall be entrusted to a central committee, which shall consist of the President General of the UNIA, a universal directress, who shall be a graduate nurse of at least 3 years' experiences, a Surgeon General, who shall be a cardiologist, the Secretary General of the UNIA, and the presidents of local divisions. So those officers make up the management central and local. Section 2, presidents of each local division shall exercise over their units the same power of control as the central committee exercises over the whole auxiliary. Section 3, all members of the High Executive Council shall be ex officio members of the Central Committee. Section 4, Surgeon General shall be the medical director of this auxiliary. And Section 5, each unit of this auxiliary shall have the following officers: 1, a matron, who shall be the lady president of the division and superintendent of the auxiliary; 2, a head nurse, who shall be the president of the unit; and 3, a secretary; 4, a treasurer. Questions, comments on management central and local, Article 4.
Notice how in Section 2 says the presidents of local divisions shall exercise over their units the same power of control as the central committee exercises over the whole auxiliaries. There again is another example of how important the president of your division is, and that you give him the help that he needs, because he has that responsibility. It's not just saying he exercises control over the units. He's responsible. And what goes wrong, he's accountable. And so we don't want things to go wrong. So help your president, no matter what it is that you're trying to do. You want to grow the division? Bring him to your president. Stop talking to people. You talk too much to him. Bring him to your president, because he can provide leadership and direction. He has the authority to put them to work. You have to still come back to him and figure out where they're going to work, but he can decide right away. Shucks, a guy comes in the Liberty Hall, and the president has a chance to meet with him, and he's 7'7". He's the center on the basketball team. That's ain't debatable. We gonna put him to work. I'm just kidding, y'all. But he'll see the value of anybody you bring before him after 5 minutes. All right, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Shaka. Article 6, revenues and incomes. Let's see how long this is. Ooh, hold on. I don't know if we went that deep into it. We'll at least go to Section 1. Funds raised for the maintenance of this auxiliary shall be known as, quote, general and special. Section 2, the general fund shall be derived from such sources: annual membership dues and sustaining membership dues. The entire amount of dues of members at large shall be forwarded to headquarters. Besides the membership dues, it shall be further derived from the interest on bank balances of the various units. The generous annual contributions given for several purposes from members or other individuals in profits of sale and of supplies and materials of all kinds. So this is speaking of revenue and income for Universal African Black Cross nurses. Sources is annual membership dues and sustaining membership dues. Section 6, all monies raised by a local unit shall pass through the hands of the secretary of the unit, of the treasurer of the unit. The treasurer of the unit shall then turn over such monies to the treasurer of the division through the general secretary of said division to be lodged to the credit of the unit in the name of the division at the bank designated. So there's a treasurer specifically for Black Cross nurses. I like section 5. Each local unit shall be privileged to raise funds among its own community for local purposes, and the appeal for such funds shall only be made in the name of the local unit. These funds may be derived from lectures, entertainments, and other social functions of an innocent nature. The raising of such funds by a local unit shall only be with the permission of the president of the local division. Interesting. I didn't know about that part. Questions, comments on funds for the Universal African Black Cross nurses? Okay. Soliciting and collecting, Article 6 is short, so I'll just read that. No person or persons shall solicit or collect funds or materials in the name of the Universal African Black Cross nurses unless authorized to do so and bear credentials properly signed by the president of the local division, the matron of the unit, or signatures of the officers of the central body. All such credentials must bear the seal of the division from which the appeal is issued, or the seal of the parent body of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So soliciting and collecting of funds seems to be it must be approved by local leadership. Questions, comments on soliciting and collecting funds for Universal African Black Cross nurses?
Yes, President Hargrove, this is Brother Clyde. On an earlier meeting, we talked about specificity in how monies are donated and or collected for certain projects. In that case, we were talking about the international headquarters, specificity for that, those funds, fundraise versus general purpose money. I would submit that if your Black Cross nurses were going out and trying to raise funds for their purposes, that they at least have the division treasurer help to identify those funds. I don't know if you do that on a Excel spreadsheet or something, but just to say, well, look, we got $2,000 for the purpose of our people's health, and therefore we'd like to try and use it for the purpose that it was raised. Just a submission. I don't think we went that far, but we did say that they could have their own treasurer. They didn't say specifically that they'd have their own accounts. I mean, we probably don't need to go that far, but at least say, look, as a university would set up their endowments, if there's specificity as to, okay, this only goes to the science building, this only goes to the technology building, then, that's the way they handle the funds. And I think we could do the same thing here.
Wait, were you asking a question or are you just making an observation?
I'm just suggesting, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think where you were speaking to, from what I surmised, a lot of what you were saying was referenced in section 6. All monies raised by a local unit, so a local Black Cross nurse unit, shall pass through the hands of the secretary of the unit. So each Black Cross nurse unit will have their own secretary and their own treasurer of that unit. And I would assume that they would be earmarking, where the funds are supposed to go to, or documenting in some form. And then that would be brought over to the treasurer of the unit, shall then turn over such monies to the treasurer of the division through the general secretary of the said division. So the treasurer of the unit will turn that over to the secretary and treasurer of the division. And I would assume that, it would be laid out that, hey, we brought in $500. We want to use 100 for our, young mothers program, 100 for blood pressure program, and the other 300 to get a CPR dummy. They would have that information and they would transfer that over to the division secretary and division treasurer.
Thank you.
My understanding.
Perfect.
Any other questions on funds and receiving funds specifically for Black Cross nurses? Very important topic and section. Uniforms, Article 7, each active member of this auxiliary shall supply herself with her own uniform. So when we look at the images of our ancestors in our wonderful all white, per the Constitution, each of these uniforms must be provided for by each of the individual sisters. That's something I think we can look at. Each division can have that discretion, but per the Constitution, each member pays for their own uniform. Article 8, Section 1, emblems. Each member of this auxiliary shall wear its emblem on a button as an indication of membership. We'll leave it there, just like we talked about with the Legion, quote-unquote emblems. The red, black, and green pin button will serve as our emblem for Legion and Black Cross nurses collectively. So any questions on Universal African Black Cross nurses? That is the last section per the Constitution before we go to Universal African Motor Corps. See how this is broken down. Okay. Oh, that was still in PowerPoint. All right, well, just to show y'all, yeah, emblems, uniform emblems, section 8, and then rules and regulations governing African Motor Corps. So we're not skipping over anything. Current slide. So now we're going into next auxiliary, the African Motor Corps. Summary of what we will read in the Constitution: all members ages 16 to 45 are considered potential members of the African Motor Corps. Men must be in command of units. So this doesn't mean that men must be in command of the units, but in order for men to be included in the African Motor Corps per the Constitution, those men must be in command of other units. We can discuss what that actually means. I don't think the significance of it matters currently based on our numbers, but currently, all men are pretty much welcome. But per the Constitution, we'll look at that. Minister of Legions serves as the head of the African Motor Corps. African Motor Corps is trained in military discipline by the Legion. Head officer of the African Motor Corps under the Minister of Legions would be female, and her title would be Brigadier General. Other officer ranks of African Motor Corps include Captain, First Lieutenant, and Second Lieutenant. And in my discussion with Brother Shaka, we talked about The purpose of the African Motor Corps is somewhat paramilitary, responsible for transportation, moving the troops from one place to another would be the responsibility of the African Motor Corps. Forms of transportation include jeeps, vans, trucks. We even touched on tanks, even though we don't, as a government, we don't have tanks. We still must be aware of these
modes of transportation.
Yes, yes, sir.
Let me say something about the ranks of officers.
Yes, sir.
When you have a brigadier general, that brigadier general has officers that that are part of its cabinet. So we'll have to go in discussion about colonels and majors, so that if women want to aspire to being brigadier general, then they can go from second lieutenant and first lieutenant to captains to majors, colonels, and generals. So I don't know why this is cut off at captains, but understanding the military hierarchy, it can go up to brigadier general. Now, that's just for starters. I want you to see this as just for starters. It doesn't have to stop at a captain. If a sister has ambition and desire and drive, she can become a colonel. She can become a major. And it doesn't have to stop at brigadier general. You can't say if a sister becomes a brigadier general, that's the highest she can go. No. If she can hit that lieutenant general by merit, she should earn it. She should have it. If she could hit that general, 4-star general, she can have it. If she can earn it, she can have it. So again, starting out, these are some basic offices that would be occupied. But in the long term, as we expand, we're going to need some generals, some sisters that are generals. And I know we have those who will be able to stand up to the challenge.
Yes, sir. Referring to the Constitution, where the summation came from, rules and regulations governing the Universal African Motor Corps. Article 1 is the name. This auxiliary of the Universal Negro Improvement Association shall be named the Universal African Motor Corps. Article 2 is object. The object of this auxiliary shall be to assist the Universal African Legions in the performance of their duties. So very general, and those duties could be a number of different things, and we must be qualified in all of those areas to be able to assist our African Legion. Article 3, membership and instructions. Section 1, all active members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association between the age of 16 and 45 may become members of this auxiliary. The male membership shall, however, be confined to only those who are in active command of units of the various divisions. So, Brother Shaka, correct me if I'm wrong, this seems to imply, obviously, there must be an involvement with all brothers that are involved in the Motor Corps, must be somewhat involved in the Legion, not only involved, but must have a position of leadership in the Legion.
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
Because the Universal African Motor Corps is a paramilitary organization, and they can't be led by civilians. They must be men that want to interact with the Universal African Motor Corps have to be soldiers.
Yes, sir.
The training has to be done by soldiers.
Yes, sir.
Because even though we think in terms of the sisters just driving and chauffeuring and driving trucks and cars, we're on our way. I mean, if we are on our way to war, then we have to be made prepared for that right now. Whatever's going to happen 10, 20 years from now, the preparation for it starts right now. So yes, when we interact with the sisters in this auxiliary, they will interact with soldiers, not civilians, not men who haven't made up their mind they want to be a soldier. Well, don't be talking about trying to lead these sisters.
And I think this last sentence kind of encapsulates that perfectly. All commissioned officers above the rank of major shall automatically be officers of this auxiliary, but you must reach the rank of major in the Legion.
There you go.
Right. Brother Art, I gotta mute you. You had a little bit of crumpling paper in the background. Section 2, this article shall be trained in, as we said, quote unquote, military discipline by the officers of the Universal African Legion. They shall also be given such automobile instructions as driving, repairs, etc. Brother Shaka.
Where are you at? You said Article 2.
Section 2, I'm sorry. Section 2 here. This auxiliary shall be trained in military discipline by the officers of the Universal African Legion. They shall also be given automobile instructions as driving, repairs, etc.
Yeah, a lot is dependent upon the activation of the Universal African Legions. I mean, we'll see even how significant that is when we get down to the children, the Boy Scouts, the cadets, and so forth. You know, without military discipline, I mean, I don't know how many people other than myself are actually veterans that have actually served time in the military, some branch of the military, had some rank in the military. I don't know. But it's going to be important that we have those who either have been in the military or are willing to study it. I mean, I got a stack of books on the training for the Naval Academy, tanks, artillery, Navy SEALs. I mean, just whatever area one wants to pursue. And I was trying to work something out where with the 4th Assistant President General at one time, so we could just talk about what the Universal African Legions or the Minister of African Legions would have to know. And we never really had that sit down. But you're seeing now how broad this thing is and how comprehensive it is. You know, I wonder, you know, what's even being discussed in the president meetings, because this stuff is so comprehensive. It's big.
Yes, sir. Yes,
you
sir.
know, I mean, if you think about the mayor of a city with 3, 4, 5 million people in it, with a bunch of departments of education, of transportation, sanitation, I mean, just on and on, that this mayor has to face and be responsible for. So president of the divisions are similar. Presidents, generals, it's similar. Ministers, surgeon generals, attorney generals, it's all similar. It's a great responsibility. I hope we understand it.
Yes, sir.
And don't just try to play UNIA.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this has been very beneficial for me, and I see now, well, partially why we took half of the time on African Legion and why African Legion is the first auxiliary. It is the foundation for the remaining auxiliaries, and this is a eye opener for me as a president and commander of local Legion, We have to make this a bigger priority, you know, amongst amongst the brothers specifically. So that's my takeaway so far.
If the brothers don't get it together, the sisters ain't got a chance. If we're supposed to provide the military training for our women,
yep,
so that they can fight and defend themselves and prepare themselves, equip themselves to survive, and we don't do what we're supposed to do, we're letting them down.
Yes,
if we're supposed to be the ones to train the boys that are out here lost and confused, and we don't have the training of members of the Universal African Legions, we're letting them down. And ain't no Black Cross nurses gonna march anywhere without men to protect them. They ain't gonna serve no hospitals, no clinics without Black men that are organized and trained to protect them. They ain't got time to look over their shoulder when they're bending over a body, trying to stitch it up or trying to heal that body. They need to focus on the work. So we gotta have the Universal African Legions in operations.
Yes, sir.
Nothing else is gonna work until that's done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear. Hear you loud and clear. Management for Universal African Motor Corps. So this is where the structure of the leadership comes from. Greetings, brother. Chizora, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I'm just getting back in. I've been gone for like 2 hours. I was
Okay.
just checking in.
Yeah, welcome back, my brother. We are going over African, where are we at? Motor Corps? Yeah, African Motor Corps now. We spent about 2 hours on Legion, spent about a half an hour on Black Cross nurses, and now we're working through Universal African Motor Corps. Article 4, management of the Universal African Motor Corps, basically the leadership structure as we showed in the slide on the PowerPoint. Universal head of the Motor Corps shall be a brigadier general, who shall be a lady, a female. She shall be fairly educated and shall be a trained and licensed chauffeur. And she shall be attached to the office of the Minister of Legion. So again, backtracking, you know, what Brother Shaka elaborated in regards to the importance of the Legion. This also, you know, how in order for the Black Cross nurses to be successful, we as brothers, we must stand up and have a successful African Legion. But partially, in order for our African Legion to be successful, it rolls back to the Office of Minister of Legions. So brothers, especially Division 421, Division 429, I would encourage you all as well. And I have seen we have to be involved in these Legion meetings. I think there's another upcoming Legion meeting on Friday, next Friday, the 25th. But you know, this entire structure is important. And in order for our local legions to be successful, I know that there's a connection with our leadership, African Legion. Continuing on the Motor Corps, Brother Shaka.
Please. The actions of the men in each division is not dependent upon whether or not there's a minister of African Legions. Black men have to be men without titles, without uniforms. They have to be men that secure the safety of their women and their children and their community. They have to stand behind the president of their division, whether he is a commander or he's a civilian. He still has to be backed up. And when we get used to backing each other up, when we get used to protecting each other, the other things will come.
Sure.
Because you may not be able to move some folks in leadership to catch the vision, because they ain't here.
sitting down learning these things. And I don't think anybody's teaching these things. I don't think this comes up in the meeting of the Universal African Legions. I don't think it comes up in the meeting of the Black Cross nurses or the African Motor Corps. But our brother said he was away for 2 hours. Understand, this information is in the Constitution of the UNIA.
Yes, sir.
So no matter what officers you have, as long as you got their Constitution, you'll know what you're supposed to be doing, whether you're doing it or not. And there's a way to do what you're supposed to do, whether you are in a uniform or not. You be men and play the role of men 24/7.
Yes, sir.
Family.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Absolutely, Brother Shaka. Just continuing in regards to the structure again, management of the African Motor Corps, according to Section 2, the local officers of this auxiliary shall be a captain, a first and second lieutenant, and such non-commissioned officers as may be found necessary. The captain shall be the president of the unit, and the first and second lieutenants shall be its secretary and treasurer, respectively. So, per the constitutional structure, African Legion would consist, or not African Legion, African Motor Corps shall be a captain. Let me see what they say about the captain is the president of the unit, first and second lieutenants. So you'd have, just like you have a secretary and treasurer of the Black Cross nurses, you'll have a secretary, treasurer, and a president of your African Motor Corps of each local division.
Now, another thing that can happen, Brother John, is that if a sister in the African Motor Corps takes and passes the test for promotion to a major and colonel, she may end up on the Minister of African Legion staff. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
She replaces herself by developing captains. Remember I asked, how many captains you got in 421? 10.
Yep.
She replaces herself and then she moves into the Minister of African Legion staff. Because now she's going to help build captains all over the world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Development. Yep, back to development. You know, it's what we have to continue to do. Section 3, all divisional staff officers, meaning commanders and their active head of each unit of the Universal African Legion, shall be ranking officers of this auxiliary. Divisional staff officers, meaning commander and active head of each unit. They'll be ranking officers. Okay. Nothing for me there for Section 3. Any questions, comments? That looks like this will be the last article in section for African Motor Corps. Before we go to the youth division, but again, some of the things that we talked about, the importance of the African Motor Corps outside of the large vision of paramilitary, moving, the troops from one place to another, the simple teaching and development of how to drive a car, parallel parking, things like that, maintaining a vehicle, changing tires, changing brakes, being able to, change oil, those types of things. These are also under the umbrella of the Universal African Motor Corps. As Brother Shaka reminded me, as we have our in the past and even modern day, as we have our sisters driving around the nation, we can't have them being stranded because of a mechanical malfunction. So knowing how to keep a vehicle running is also an important aspect of African Motor Corps. Any questions or comments on Motor Corps before we go to juveniles?
You know, another thing that we can do, sisters, is we can teach you, if you don't know, how to race, how you can outrun another vehicle. We can teach you how to drive a stick shift.
Ooh, yes.
So that you can race your car. You can outrun anybody that's trying to chase you. And the other thing is that my wife brought it to my attention that we didn't mention honorary members of the Universal African Motor Corps, where the age grouping is 16 to 45. We should be able to have sisters who are, just like we have brothers in the legions, just like in the Black Cross nurses, have sisters who are honorary. They don't drag race anymore, but they're still honorary members of the uniform or the Universal African Motor Corps, because they've served their time, and now, you know, they have limitations as to what they'll be doing.
I'm with you. Per the Constitution, I believe that we would have to add that as an amendment. There currently is no honorary African Motor Corps officer.
All right, my wife said thank you for that.
Yes, but yes,
brought it to my attention.
I'm always and that's one of the things I love about reviewing the Constitution. If there's any changes that we want to make, we are officers of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. This is a historical review, but you know, we still have power in modern time to make any changes, updates, corrections, improvements that we see for the future. So please keep that in mind. All right. If there aren't any other questions for African Motor Corps, we will move to our Juveniles section. The final.
I'd like to ask Sister Diane a question.
Yes, Sister Diane here.
And Sister Amina too, if she's still here. I'm not looking at who's here. But what I'm thinking is that you see the uniforms that the African Motor Corps is wearing, Sister Diane?
I do.
Sister Amina, do you see that?
Mama Amina, you there? She may have stepped away.
So here's what I'm wondering. I just bought my wife a military uniform on the style of the uniform of the African Motor Corps, right, babe? And I'm just wondering, how do the sisters feel about those skirts? Sister Diane, two questions. Would that be okay with boots? Would that be okay with pants? How would you feel wearing skirts?
Skirts are good, but I'm thinking maybe pants in this day and age, but I don't necessarily want to change tradition. But I'm thinking pants, you know, that's a lady's cut kind of pants, man pants. Might, you know, even still keep the boots. And then, you know, there may be occasions when it calls for the skirts. Yeah, I mean, if it has to stay the way it's been traditionally, fine, but if I think pants would work too. I mean, you know, not tight pants and, you know, modest type of pants that would accommodate, you know, for the purpose of a uniform. for running and moving around and moving fast, I think pants just work. But there's no reason, you know.
Okay, so here's what I'm getting from you. That uniform right there is a dress uniform. That is like the formal wear for Universal African Legions. I mean, Universal African Motor Corps. But for working on vehicles, you ain't gonna work in a skirt. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Now you're gonna
Very
need.
true.
All right, good enough. Thank you, my sister.
Race first.
Race first. Thanks, Sister Diane. So yeah, we're wrapping up African Motor Corps. Next, I thought this was the last one. The last one is choir. Next, auxiliary of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is our Juveniles Department. Juveniles Department consisted of all members ages 1 through 18. And there were different classes based on age. Age 1 through 7 was considered a Bible class where they discussed, had Bible study and shared facts about the UNIA. Ages 7 through 13, per the Constitution, is a souvenir class where those children would be creating souvenirs, whatever they may be, flags or dolls, whatever it may be. Souvenirs for fundraising purposes, I would assume, or for fundraising purposes, they're souvenirs. And then 14 through 18 was a nursing prep class. The juveniles all went through training, laws for children, laws for teacher, local staff, juveniles youth department, page 73. Cadets trained by someone with military discipline, again, that foundation for the African Legions, taught to follow instructions, be obedient, and carry out orders. So we'll look at the Constitution for juveniles. Article 1, again, we're looking at 3 classes. So Article 1 is the first class. Well, Article 1 is 3 classes. Bible class and prayer, doctrine of the UNIA. And this, again, is for ages 1 year to 7 years. Taught Bible class and prayer, doctrine of the UNIA and ACL, facts about the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, Negro Factories Corporation, and history of Africa in storybook fashion. So 1 through 7. Bible class and prayer, and as I said, facts about the history of the UNIA and Africa. I didn't mention Africa. Ages 7 through 13 is called Class for Girls Souvenir class. Will be given the same training as girls of number 2 class. Only difference being that the boys of this class shall make souvenirs with wood and carved with tools instead of the needle. So, okay, so that will be your distinction in the souvenirs that are created by boys would use wood and tools. The girls would use sewing and needles. But general purpose would be development of trade skills and souvenirs for the purpose of fundraising, I would assume. Ages 13 to 16, it looks like I missed this one. Rituals of the UNIA, military training, flags, signaling, Negro history, books advised is From Superman to Man, White Capital and Colored Labor, When Africa Awakens, African Lure and Lyrics. This class must be taught by a member of the Legions who was acquainted with military tactics. So again, military training, signaling, and African history from ages 13 to 16. And then 14 to 18, which is
Brother John.
Yes, Brother Shaka.
Let's pause for a second and look at the age that military training starts.
13.
For the young boys.
Yeah.
13.
Yes.
Now, what grade in school is this 13-year?
I'm getting 8th grade. Is that 8th grade? Anybody can second that? Pretty sure it's 8th grade, Brother Shaka.
Yes, 8th grade.
Okay, I thought my computer froze up for a second. Brother Shaka, you there?
Thank you. Yes. So I just wanted to make a note of how early we could start military training.
Mm.
I mean, they got to be trained by a member of the legions. Now, I'm not saying that they have to be quote unquote universal African legions, but they have to be trained in military tactics, military discipline beginning at the age of 13. That's amazing. Next time I see a 13-year-old, I'm going to talk to him as if he's going to be in training to be a soldier.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yes, from the age of 13, we start military training. Preparatory nursing class starts age 14.
I'm sorry, Brother John.
Yes.
I love the way you said that. Say it again.
I don't even know what I said. What?
At age 13.
Military training?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We start military training at the age of 13. Now go tell somebody.
Yes, sir. Yep. 13, and then 14, we start preparatory nursing class, which consists of making uniforms for juveniles, Negro history, etiquette, talk on the latest topics of the day, elementary principles of economy, Negro story writing, hygiene and domestic science, very important. Domestic science be like home economics, so not just food, not just washing clothes, but science, domestic science. I like that, the way they put that, domestic science. This class shall be taught in 3 divisions or classes, namely 14 to 15, 16 to 17, 18 years to finishing, shall be trained by the Black Cross nurses. These are older children training, more mature training of military training from 13 to 16, and nurse preparatory training from 14 to 18.
Now imagine what that Black Cross nurse has to know. Look at all that comes up under 14 to 18 that's being, the training is being done by a Black Cross nurse. They have to know everything up under there.
Yep.
All right, please continue.
If there aren't any questions on ages and the classes of the juvenile division, we'll proceed to the laws. Article 2, laws for children. Section 1, all juveniles of divisions and societies of the UNIA shall show high respect to all officers of the association and respect for teachers in charge of class. So an expectation of general respect. We must teach and instill respect and discipline at a young age, and that's the UNIA Constitution has it built into the foundation. Section 2, no juvenile shall be allowed to talk, laugh, or carry on any mischief while classes are in session, but must sit in attention to instruct so as to get the benefit thereof. So etiquette, manners, discipline. How are we going to learn if we can't sit still and be quiet? So, principles of the UNIA. Section 3, any juvenile found using profane or bad language or becoming unruly and disrespectful to his or her officer in charge shall be reported to superintendent of juveniles by teacher in charge and superintendent through secretary. Notify parents of child's conduct. If parents fail to correct child and he or she continues, same shall be expelled by superintendent of juvenile. So you must abide by the rules and regulations. And if you don't, you will be removed. So there are rules. Questions, comments on laws for children?
Let's spend a little time on that word etiquette. Any sisters want to jump on that one? What is etiquette? So we don't have any teachers for the youth? Come on, Sister Diane, what is etiquette?
Basically, just basically having a sense of respect. I mean, etiquette could be, well, how do you sit at a table and how do you use the different knives and forks and things of that nature. But on another note, it could be just respect for each other, just a sense of teamwork, just a sense of knowing when to behave a certain way, just having a natural sense of when do you goof off, when do you not goof off. There's a time and place for everything. It could encompass all of that. That's what I'm thinking. Raise first.
Raise first.
If a 14-year-old is taught that the 14-year-old girl is taught that they are not to have boys over to the house when mom and dad are not there, is that a part of etiquette, obeying the rules of the house that the parents have established?
Say yes.
If the rule of the house is that you're in the house before the street lights come on, is that rule a part of the behavior that could fall under etiquette?
I would say yes.
Yes, I would agree.
So there's probably a whole lot of things that could fall up under etiquette. Let's make sure we have our list.
Yes, sir.
So that we can start as early as possible with both the military training for the boys and girls, but especially the etiquette for our daughters who really need that kind of protection.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Shaka. And with that, a great segue to Article 3. So who's going to establish the etiquette? Who's going to establish the curriculum for what our children are learning? Article 3 is titled Laws for Teachers. Section 1, teachers must meet once a week previous to meeting of the general body of juveniles to receive instructions to familiarize themselves with the working of their class and department. Section 2, all teachers shall be appointed by the president of the local division. Section 3, the superintendent of the juvenile shall see that all reports are kept properly so as to avoid disputes. The superintendent shall also have an assistant to aid in the working of his department. Section 4, the first assistant shall be held responsible to the superintendent for working of the department and meetings over which she presides. The superintendent shall be held responsible to the president of the local division. So laying a chain of command, president, superintendent to first assistant. And this group must meet weekly, or 1 week previous to the meeting of the general body of juveniles. So we must meet a week prior to a lesson of instruction for our juveniles to make sure we're clear on the instructions and what we expect from that class or department. Questions on?
Now we're looking at this as if we were having class every day.
Yeah.
It's a 1-day class. And this kind of discipline, this kind of regiment has to go into a 1-day class. You got to get ready to do something a week in advance that you're going to do for 1 day. Make sure it's done right.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I definitely know the importance of that. Sister Diane?
And some of the curriculum for a class on etiquette can be pulled right out of the course of African philosophy, because there's a whole bunch of things along those lines, like character and cleanliness, and hygiene, stuff that could a part of that etiquette class.
Yes, ma'am.
You're definitely right, Sister Diane, which means that a teacher of the children has to learn something.
Right.
To be able to share something with our children. We just can't put a sister in there because she taught in the Chicago public school. I mean,
right.
I mean, Atlanta public school or whatever.
That's
but
right.
They have to be properly trained.
That's right. Sister Diane?
Yes, sir.
What was, when you stated that you wish to be our education coordinator, do you remember the requirement that I made of you as president? Before you could do education or provide education, what was the requirement?
Aside from writing out my role, just basically going through the training myself so I can be able to teach it.
Yeah, and what was that training?
Would that be the course of African philosophy?
Yes, yes. Sister Diane joined us, been over a year now, February or sometime last year, and she had interest in education, and that's very important and is very much needed. But as you said, Brother Shaka, before we could just start instructing what we have come to know throughout our lives, we must go to the source of instruction. And the source for us is Course of African Philosophy. So, yes.
Let me throw the ball back in your court again.
Yes, sir.
Everything that has to be taught by the teachers, you have to teach them. Everything that is to be taught to the training that has to be made available for the African Motor Corps, you have to teach them. Everything that has to be taught to the Black Cross nurses, you have to teach them. You see the responsibility of a president of a division? You have to know everything, every auxiliary and how it operates from top to bottom, from A to Z. You as the president has to know that. And your lady president, she ain't far behind. She got to know all of that stuff. So when it says, can you take us back up to what you're going to teach the babies?
Sure. I'm sorry. 1 to 7. Bible class.
Bible class, prayer, doctrine of the UNIA. What's the doctrine of the UNIA? Sister Diane? What's the doctrine of the UNIA? It's everything Marcus Garvey taught. It's everything that's in the Constitution. It's everything in the Declaration of Rights of the Negro people of the world. And then the facts about the Black Star Line. Didn't we just go through that not too long ago in terms of part of the economic history of the economics of the UNIA? The Negro Factories Corporation. Didn't we just go through that with the history of the economic programs of the UNIA?
Yes, we did.
And what age do we start teaching these things to our young people?
1 year.
1 year old. Go ahead, bro. Continue.
Yes, sir.
Y'all got me fired up.
We got a lot of work to do, but we right on. I think we right on schedule with what we're doing. These programs are critical. Article 3 to continue with juveniles, laws for teachers. No, we read that. Okay. Article 4. So who are the teachers? What is the local staff for our juveniles? Section 1, the superintendent shall be a lady vice president. The first assistant shall be a loyal member. Secretary shall be one of the best learned juveniles, male or female. Teachers shall be loyal members of local divisions. Cadet class teacher shall be a member of the legions and shall know all military tactics. Preparatory nurse class shall have 2 teachers, and one shall be a trained Black Cross nurse and a responsible lady. The lady president of the local division shall be the honorary superintendent of the juveniles. That's a lot right there in section 1. I'll go through section 2 and then we'll come back and recap the staff. Section 2, there shall be a treasurer of the local division. All monies raised by the juveniles shall be handed over to him or her through its secretary to be turned over to the treasurer of the division, through the secretary of the division to be deposited in the bank of said division. Juvenile treasurer shall not keep in his possession monies belonging to the juveniles for a period of extending 24 hours. Very straightforward. So, but common trend when we're talking about our auxiliaries, whether it's African Legion has the quartermasters, Black Cross Nurses has a secretary and treasurer. African Motor Corps has a secretary and treasurer. And now we're coming to the juvenile department, which also has its own secretary and treasurer. And they communicate and work with the division treasurer. So that's the funding. And we talked about the staff as well. Any questions, comments on staff or the funds? Well, this is the staff handling the funds of the juvenile department. Okay. But one of the key things, Lady Vice President, is, and that's why, Sister Diane, you be in line with education. It's a perfect alignment, but per our Constitution, not necessarily our first Lady Vice President, but there should be a Lady Vice President in some capacity that is has a passion for education, and that Lady Vice President will be the de facto superintendent of the juveniles department. Any questions or comments?
Makes sense.
If there aren't any questions, 3:38, we got 20 minutes, and we're getting into the choir, the final auxiliary of the UNIA-ACL per our Constitution currently is the choir. Let's see, I think it's fairly straightforward. I don't know if it's too much here. All right, let's just start. Yeah, it's not too much. I think it's about 5 articles. Article 1. Names and objects. This auxiliary shall be known as the Universal Negro Improvement Association Choir. Shall consist of men and women who are active members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. It shall be to furnish, its object shall be to furnish vocal talent in the form of solos, duets, trios, quartets, quintets, choruses, etc. for the various meetings and services held by the organizations as may be expedient. So that's the names and objects. Article 2, officers and their duties. I'm not going to go through all of these. Let me see the first one, section 1. Officers shall be a president, a secretary, librarian, a treasurer, and a musical instructor who shall not be the president. A president. Besides the foregoing officers mentioned in section 1 of this article, there shall be a leading soprano, mezzo-soprano, leading alto, a first tenor, and basso profundo as a pianist and assistant instructor. This is getting very musically technical. Any observations, questions, comments so far? Brother Shocker, did you want to say anything on officers for the choir?
I think to start your choir, I mean, you're the president. I'd test everybody. Let's see who's got some singing ability. Just Line them up. I mean, go and get you an expert. Say, look, we want to test all our members, see if anybody can sing, because we're thinking about starting the choir. You know, but usually you look for someone who would like to make or like to have a singing career. Because if you get started in a choir at a very early age, you could become a professional. You could become an entertainer. And it says that the choirs could sing at different events. You could sing at funerals, and other weddings and other gatherings and get paid for doing it. So just something to keep in mind, that some people do it because it's the beginning of their singing career.
I want to call on Sister Cecily. Sister Cecily, are you there? Are you able to speak?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Universal Negro Improvement Association choir and a choir for our local division?
Sounds good to me. I'm already a singer, so
That's
right up my alley.
That's why I wanted to call on you. I think this would be a great addition to your responsibilities of arts and culture, and second Lady Vice President. But we can talk about this further, but it would be one of the first people that I would recommend to lead our choir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Cecily.
I have to ask, my sister Cecily, do you play any instruments?
Not really. Piano a little bit, but I'm not that great.
Piano.
You can play a little piano?
Just a little, not much, but I'm a much better singer.
Let me ask you, Sister Cecily, would you have any problem with getting better at it?
No, not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Sister Cecily, I think you're gonna be our de facto musical instructor.
Sounds good. Thank y'all.
Yes, thank you. Section 3, duties of the musical.
Sorry, Brother John. So she can be the one that tests everybody then.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They have the singing ability.
Definitely.
and you know, because we got to sing our songs, right?
Yes, sir.
Ethiopian Anthem, and then some of the other songs as part of our rituals and so forth. So yes, she's got a job cut out for her.
And identifying the different types of singers: soprano, alto, tenor, bass. I'm sure she has more experience in that than I do. So yeah. Thank you, Sister Cecily. Section 3, duties of the musical instructor shall be to instruct the choir in music. And Brother Shaka, help me understand, because it seems as though the choir and the band are two separate entities, and the band is tied to the Legion. What's your understanding of how are these two? Would they work together, separate? How would they function?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. They would work together. If you have a choir, then you need a pianist. You need I mean, some people even have horns in their choirs. You need drummer. And so this is the basis of a band. A few good singers is the basis of a choir. So we don't have to start with a 200-person choir or a 70-piece band. Just somebody that knows how to extract a tune from one of those instruments or from their voice is the beginning. And sometimes, you know, it might be some of the poetry that the Honorable Marcus Garvey has written. I love his poetry. And people get entertained by poetry. You know how much we love rap and hip hop and so forth. So now let me go back to Sister Cecily again. My sister, do you know any poetry?
Not really.
Do you know how to rap?
Well, actually, okay, I will say I know poetry because I've turned poetry into song. I've written songs.
You've written songs?
Yes.
Oh, you a winner. Keeper. She's a keeper. Yeah.
Okay, 3:45. We got 15 minutes. Still got a little bit of information, and I do want to make sure we have any time for any closing questions or anything. Last part on the officers, I'll just go to section 5. Talks about the duties of the secretary librarian are to keep the record of the members of the choir, their attendance to rehearsal. So keeping, those qualifications. Are people showing up? Are they showing up on time? Attendance to rehearsals, services, etc., for the information of the president of the division. He shall write all notices, attend to the general correspondence, and keep a record of the properties of the choir. He shall receive all contributions and monies of the choir and turn same over to the treasurer. Shall solely be responsible for the distribution and collection of all music designated for use on any occasion. I would probably defer that to our musical instructor.
Now just imagine a collection of all the music, a collection of all rhythm and blues, slave songs, African songs, drumming. I mean, that's a part of our archive, which means as the president of the division, if you ever needed some music, you got an archive that's filled with different types of music and genre and songs and so forth. So you could say to your choir, because you got the president of Rwanda coming in on Sunday, that you need some Kiswahili songs, or you got brother president of brother Torre out of what is that country?
Burkina
Faso. Yeah. So now you need some Africans that sing French, because he might enjoy it because he speaks French. I'm just saying, when we start building up the archives, have your people start turning in that music so that we can record it, put it in our archives, so whenever it's needed, we can pull it out. Even if all we want to do is just play it. Like you're going to play that piece, the Ethiopian anthem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right.
Couple more sections on choir. Section 3, term of office. Term of office of all officers shall be as long as they give satisfactory service to the membership. So very general in regards to term of service, as long as you are still providing a service. Article 4, decorum. I'm not going to read all of these sections. Section 1, the strictest decorum must be observed by each member of the choir doing all services and other functions. Any member misconducting himself shall be reprimanded by the musical instructor for the first offense, suspended for 1 month for the second offense, and dismissed altogether from the choir for the third offense. So decorum, discipline, it rolls down through all of the auxiliaries. There is no auxiliary that does not require a high level of discipline and accountability. I'm gonna skip over the other sections of decorum. I think we understand the essence of that. Article 5, sickness. Any member taken sick shall immediately see, if possible, that the secretary librarian is notified either by letter, by announcement. Otherwise, basically, if you're sick, you need to take leave, just notify the body, and that is not a problem. Article 6, uniform. All members having supplies, having surpluses, must wear them. The uniform appearance of the choir must be preserved. Non-observance of this rule will be regarded as misconduct. So etiquette, appearance, taking care of our clothing. We must be clean and appear, in uniform for the choir. Uniform is a requirement for the choir. Article 7, music. The local division shall furnish the music to be used by the choir on all occasions except solo work for salaried soloists. Such music remain the property of the organization. So as Brother Shaka was saying, we must have a catalog of music that we can pull out when the circumstances present themselves. And last.
Did you also notice where it said salaried soloists?
Yes.
So now here's a soloist that's so good that we take care of them because they have developed their skill to the level of a professional. And what we really want is all of them to turn professionals.
Get your phone.
If you get them started young enough, and if the director is serious about trying to produce the best talent that the division can produce, then you could hit them universities and you could travel around the world singing on behalf of the UNIA. And yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Last article, Article 8, is titled Harmony. Section 1, members of the choir shall do their utmost to promote and preserve the harmony with all other auxiliaries comprising the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League, bearing in mind at all times that there is but one God, one aim, one destiny. That's interesting. I thought they were speaking of harmony as, you know, as a vocal characteristic, but it's talking about harmony of the auxiliaries.
And that's to your benefit, Mr. President, and to President Clyde's benefit. You don't want your auxiliaries bumping heads.
Yes, sir.
So you'll make it clear from the very beginning. The African Legions is not fighting with the choir and the teachers and the Black Cross nurses, et cetera, et cetera. Harmony. I like that word.
Yes, sir. That is the last section of the choir. Then the Constitution goes into important legislation of 1938, properties, use of motto and rituals, but this is beyond the auxiliaries. There is a section Juveniles, which was eradicated and amended in 2005 and replaced with what seems to be Youth Department. So we'll read Youth Department. Section 65, that in every division of the UNIA-ACL, a youth department be formed, and academic, spiritual, and teachings of racial uplift be taught to them. So this sounds like juveniles from ages 1 through 7. All members of the youth department shall show respect to all officers of the association and respect for their teachers in charge of their classes. That was mentioned previously. Dues shall be or not be paid by members of the youth department according to the bylaws of the local divisions. In cases where they are paid, the divisions determine the amount. Such amount may not exceed half the amount paid by the adult. So I guess this is giving the local divisions the discretion for dues for youth members. Anything? Questions, comments on Constitution? There's a couple slides in the PowerPoint that we didn't get to go over due to time. I was just going to breeze through them. So we talked about choirs is where we left off for the Constitution. Some of the other things that we had talked about, which we plan to elaborate, and we kind of did elaborate on in other sections, but knowledge required of the officers, must know military training, must be trained for war, must have knowledge of major institutions, utilize or protect these institutions such as schools, hospitals, our community as a whole, farms, our access to food. We must be able to protect these institutions and spaces. Some of the roles of the Legion: observation, to monitor certain areas, wear uniforms at the meetings, but in public. So normal military, when they come together during certain events, they'll wear their military regalia, but after the event, when they're back in public, they go back to civilian clothes, and that's something that we should practice when we have our in-person meetings. We should, at least one day for convention, high executive council, we should dress in our Legion uniforms or some form of a professional official uniform. Drilling. So marching, the importance of being able to move toward or away from a problem. If we need to engage something or we need to move away from something, how can we do that in mass and in formation? And the differences of formation: squads, platoons, brigades, the sizes, how many squads make up a platoon, how many platoons make up a brigade. This map over here is talking about the topography and geography, not just geography, but also topography. Cartography is the science of map making. So we must know that, and got a small compass up here. Obviously, that's fundamentals of directions. We must know our cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Rank of military officers we looked at, and this is Henry O. Flipper. He was in the United States military, but we were looking at the comparison between the United States military ranks and UNIA military ranks, and if there's any updates or adjustments that we need to make, or understandings of our rankings that we can pull from the United States. But platoon leader, squad leader, brigade leader, division leaders, private, corporal, staff sergeant, gunnery sergeant, lieutenant, second lieutenant, captain, commander, and uniform code. Uniform code, a grading system of how we perform our duties. Brother Shaka mentioned this in detail: punctuality and regularity. Division 421, you should know. I'm gonna ask y'all, officers, what's our best ability? What does the president feel that your best ability is?
Availability.
Availability, yes, sir. Thank you. Who was that?
Confidence, Jacksonville.
Confidence, yes, sir. Your best ability is availability. You're a sports brother, so he knows. But the value of what we bring to the table means nothing if we can't make it to the table. So if I know, have all of the military science that we need, but I'm not available when it's time to come together, what is the value of that knowledge? So we must be available, must be present. Appearance, we must have good appearance. Again, this is from, Course of African Philosophy talks about this as well, but that's part of what the uniform does, making sure our clothes are pressed and starched, clean, obviously, shine our shoes, our hats and headgear is proper, our emblems are proper, they're upright, they're clean, but having a uniform code. We talked about the ability to attract in Garvey's time. Some of the things that made the UNIA so successful is a combination of Mr. Garvey and his message, but also the times in which that message was being espoused. This was a time when our people were coming back from World War I. Our people were being lynched in their uniforms. We talked about how Mr. Garvey is not a man of military service, but he was an intellectual, and he understood the conditions of our people globally, even in war times. Army manuals, how we constantly were required to have constant upgrades and constantly be aware of new technology. Names of all the tools, parts of the uniform, hold hands at attention. So just being skilled tradesmen and being skilled legionnaires. It's not just a put on the outfit and stand in line, but you must have some skills and intellect as well. firearms training and firearms license is something that we will look at in modern time for the Legion. Legions must know something about Africa. Military must operate in land, ocean, and air. And we must even, in modern time, be aware of drones, drone technology. Brother Shaka, you were talking about we were briefly talking about just being masters of our environment, being able to camp outside, being able to access or clean, filter your water, how to pitch a tent. We were talking about mosquitoes and insects, how they can be a nuisance and carry disease, and you still have to protect yourself from these aspects as well. So being in Legion, being in the Legion is not just about putting on a uniform and looking nice, but we must also be skilled. Teaching security, we must teach how to secure our local presidents, and that translates to how to secure our president general. But not only a president, not only president general, as Brother Shaka said, as men, we must secure our community. We must secure our sisters, our children, the youth. So that aspect of security must become a greater priority for us as Black people, especially us Black men. As we look through the auxiliaries, we see the foundation of the Legion. And Brother Malcolm taught us, and obviously he's years after Garvey, but he said, there's no point in building anything if you can't protect it. So we must put an emphasis on being able to protect the things that we build and our people. How to give and receive orders is very important. So not only giving orders, but being able to receive and take orders. Again, the record of the conduct, proficiency, fitness of the squad, motor corps, fitness, uniform, being able to march, testing as an individual. So if we're doing something if we're marching or drilling as a body, but something's out of place, something's not adding up or exact, and then we can test individuals, to find out, just like with singing, if you're singing in a chorus, the instructor may hear something and start to go through each individual person to find out where that discrepancy is coming from. So we must be able to evaluate on the individual scale to make the body more consistent and look better. Commitment to the Constitution and one form of salute, whatever that may be. Those were just ideas we were throwing out. I think officially in the UNIA, we don't have an official salute. So whether that's Black Fist or, we want to do like others with the hand, that's something that we can develop and come up with. Training, hand-to-hand combat, hand-to-hand training, being an armorer, firearms expert. So not only, being able to clean weapons, being able to disassemble, reassemble, being able to, put, a barrel from over here onto a firearm over here. So armorer, being an expert in that. Again, reading maps, topography, geography, signaling, Morse code, communication, inspected by leaders. All of these things we had mentioned previously, and I think this is the last slide. Emergency preparedness. This is another aspect of auxiliaries. I'm not going to say Legion, but the auxiliaries. Are we prepared for an emergency? Do we have 2 weeks to a month to multiple months of access to food and water? If the power went out, do we have generator? What's our opinion of a generator, candles, flashlights? Do we have batteries safely stored? Do we have the ability to shoot, hunt, track animals? Do we understand how to use walkie-talkies, ham radios, these types of things? But, general first aid, these are one of the things that, as we were discussing this yesterday, I felt honestly that this was, at that time, one of the things that we could implement immediately. All of us, no matter where we are, even individually, can start to developed our emergency preparedness kits or whatever that may be. So I don't want to take too much time. That was all of the slides. That's all of the information. If there's any questions or comments or concerns, now's the time. Floor is open. Okay. All right. Everybody's got this good information. Brother Shock, anything that you wish to say in closing? Or does anyone have anything to say in closing if there aren't any questions or comments?
I wanted to ask, I apologize for missing a lot of it, but and I probably missed previous meetings, but is there like a progress report of staff, or like I think I heard that some position already been staffed. Is there like a progress report of people that have been staffed, or what we're looking to staff next?
That's a good question. Now, let me ask you, on what level are you speaking? On a divisional level or on a overall leadership?
For example, I've seen like African Legion in Baltimore, and I think there was I heard mentioned there's a regular African Legion call, and I've seen the Black Cross nurses. I've seen flyers recently, but I don't know if the person leading it is here. So it's kind of, I don't know if could be a quick bullet point rundown of the positions and what the next step would be. Like the motor corps, the nurses, the Legion, like the next step, if it could be run down real quick. I don't know if you understand me.
No, I think I know where you're going. I think when you said progress, that kind of made it make sense to me. So let me take a step back. Basically, the goal is to staff the auxiliaries, and particularly staff the leadership of the auxiliaries. And that leadership would be on the national level or international level, as well as local level. On the local level, I can give you a lot of updates. Well, even on the national, I can give you some updates. But that is the first goal. Locally, I'm going to have to put more emphasis on Legion. That has kind of the priority. I didn't understand the priority prior to today. So locally, our Legion is poorly staffed. Our Black Cross nurses is better organized, thanks to our lady president. But from a staffing standpoint, outside of her serving as leadership and our lady vice presidents supporting, there's not any official titles or responsibilities. Same thing would apply for African Motor Corps and Juveniles. We have a quote unquote officer that has accepted the position of leadership, but outside of that, in regards to I think the Constitution mentioned the words unit president, unit treasurer, and unit secretary. We don't have those offices staffed. It's just one individual that has accepted, the position of leadership of that office, and we are in the process of staffing their support. So that applies for Black Cross nurses, African Motor Corps, Juveniles, and as you know, we just had a commitment from an officer today to lead our choir. But prior to that, there was no discussion about the choir.
All right, because I've been texting for some time that some of these things might be found in like international community organizations, and And the history of the UNIA is based off these kind of community associations. Some call them friendly societies. But I guess I'm going to share it in the background to leadership. But I even saw one in Pennsylvania. But a lot of these community organizations have these kind of things already. They go overseas to their homeland. They do missions, like nursing missions. So that'd be a source of staff. They have choirs and things like that. I'll message in the back chat. I was just wondering if there's progress, because I don't want to overstep boundaries with my recommendations.
No, I appreciate that, Brother Chizoro, and you know, we go back. You longtime supporter. I definitely appreciate your input and your suggestions. I think the challenge is just, well, we have to reach out to those bodies. So please share that information. We can't criticize if we haven't given individuals an opportunity to collaborate. So we need to reach out. We need to express the desire to work together, the desire to tap into these skills that these groups and organizations have, and go from there. But I think some of the aspect, and at least from my opinion, has been, you know, I'm not going to do
Yeah,
that.
we can take that up. We can take those up with our presidents. We basically have shared the history of the UNIA Auxiliaries. And my wife said she is really impressed with how this went. So take a bow, Brother Hargrove. Did a fantastic job. So we don't have anything else to add. It's hard to improve on perfection. So you're going to close us out, Brother Hargrove, with the anthem?
Yes, I am. But again, I mean, before we close, I just wanted to, you know, if there were any comments or questions. So, Brother Chizoro, we will talk. I will tap into those resources, collaborate with those resources, and see if there's alignment. Anyone else? Closing comments, questions, Brother Clyde?
This is Brother Clyde out of Chicago. I just wanted to thank the organizers of this. This has been very deep discussion on the auxiliaries. I mean, we went above and beyond what you just read in cursory glance through some of our materials that we work through on a regular basis as we get a better understanding of how the UNIA was so successful in Garvey's day. So I want to thank you for putting together the slides, Brother John. Thank you, Shaka, for adding and giving us again a more in-depth idea of how the auxiliaries can be run successfully, and give us a blueprint to work with us. Thank you.
Thank you, President Clyde. Yeah, but for me, again, as I said, that Legion, the importance of the Legion, and how that the training from the Legion rolls over to the other auxiliaries. I see that as a big void that we've had locally. And I got to thank our Lady President for pushing the Black Cross nurses. But it's at this point, it's forcing our men to step up, because we're getting ready to be at a point where our sisters are going to be out further, not out further, but out front, organized and on the move. And our brothers are still twiddling their thumbs trying to get things together. So yeah, that's the big takeaway for me. Division 421, we got to get our Legion right. Again, last opportunity, closing comments, questions before we play our Universal Ethiopian Anthem to close out.
I just want to add to what you were saying, Brother John, that the auxiliaries are not just talking points. They're actually organizations or divisions, arm of the organization that we need to put into place. Because even if you just look at the Black Cross nurse and how instrumental we could have been during the COVID madness. So we don't know what else they can spring on us, but we could have been a lot more organized with COVID, and who knows, maybe we wouldn't have lost so much in our community because we are addressing the preventive stuff, and then we have solutions for when, you know, what hit the fan stuff. So it just shows that we have to put them in place, not just talk about them. Race first.
Race first. And that's funny you bring that up. I honestly, I thought 2020 COVID would be the resurgence of UNIA and Black organization. When you look at history, Spanish flu was the COVID-19 of Garvey's time. And at that time, you know, they were organized and they were able to put forth some form of response and prevention for what was going on. And I tend to think that helped to aid in the growth of the UNIA. But when 2020 came around, we weren't prepared. And honestly, that's the reason, Brother Shaka, and I know you'll agree, that's the reason why we've been doing these programs. We even mentioned that yesterday. You can't wait until you get into a crisis like COVID-19 and then begin to organize and try to figure out what we should be doing. That has to be done years in advance. So there will be another crisis, most likely in our lifetimes, hopefully later.
We don't have to look too far in the future. If President Trump is elected and he encourages the right wing in this country to do what they did on January the 6th down at the White House or the Capitol, and to do what they want to do to Black people,
I sure will.
We better be ready.
Yes, sir.
This year, we better be ready in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir.
To have something in place to, you know, have our eyes and our ears open in case, you know, there's an attack on our people. So let's think about, it's not going to be 20 years in the future. It's not going to be another COVID thing. Something could happen right on the horizon.
Yes,
that's
sir.
all I want to think.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brother Shaka. With that, we're gonna close out with the Universal Ethiopian Anthem. Share screen. Yeah. Okay.
Ethiopia, the land of our fathers, the land where the gods love to be. As storm cloud at night suddenly gathers, our armies come rushing to thee.
We must in the fight be victorious, when swords are thrust outward to gleam. For us will the victory be glorious, when led by the red, black, and green. Advance, advance to victory, let Africa be free.
Advance,
advance to meet the foe.
Advance, advance to meet the foe. With the might of the red, the black, and the green. With the might of the red, the black, and the green. Ethiopia, the tyrant's falling, who smote thee upon thy knees, and thy children are lustily calling from over the distant seas. Jehovah, the Great One, has heard us, has noted our sighs and our tears. With the spirit of love, he has stirred us to be one through the coming years. Advance, advance to victory, let Africa be free. Advance, advance to meet the foe. Advance, advance to meet the foe. With the might of the red, the black, and the green. With the might of the red, the black, and the green. O Jehovah, thou God of ages, grant unto us sons that thee, the wisdom thou gave to thy sages, when Israel was sore in need.
Thy voice through the tempest has spoken, Ethiopia shall stretch forth the hand.
By thee shall our fetters be broken, and heaven bless our dear fatherland. Advance, advance to victory, let Africa be free. Advance, advance to meet the foe. Advance, advance to meet the foe. With the might of the red, the black, and the green. With the might of the red, the black, and the green.
Race first.
Race first.
Was that somebody in the background? I thought that was the video. Okay.
Sound like somebody's in the background with a dog.
Race first.
Race first. Thank you for joining. We'll close out.